Welcome to the Smark Foundation podcast. I'm Aaron. This is Adam.
Hello, everybody, and happy all-inclusive holidays.
Yes, happy all-inclusive holidays. To let everybody know, this will be our final episode of season one. We're going to take a 2 week break to spend those wonderful holidays with our families, and then we'll be back with you guys on January 6th to
Yeah,
to start season two and kick off our 2025 broadcasts. It's been a heck of a season already. I really appreciate everybody who's listened to us from all the crazy places in the world that you've been listening to us from. Especially thank you for sticking it out with us this long. We're 12 episodes in, and we've experienced a lot of really good growth lately. So I'm really super happy about that. And Adam,
yeah. I mean, it's this has been such a journey already. Like, I mean, I know it's 12 weeks. It's 3 months or whatever. But like, I don't know. I feel like this has been really, really rewarding already. Just getting a chance to talk, kind of go, not even as in depth as I would like to because of time constraints, and I am a long-winded mofo. But uh, yeah, like just being able to talk this, like I have friends, that are into wrestling, but everybody leads such disparate lives anymore. I got kids. I'm Heath Slater with only two of them, but uh, but it's so difficult to talk about all the things I want to talk about. Like hardly any of my coworkers are really into wrestling or whatever. The ones that are in like they're all across the way in the other departments on the other side of the store that I work at and stuff like that. So it's difficult for me. It was getting difficult for me to sustain my fandom because I couldn't talk to anybody about it except like online, and Twitter back then, and still is even worse now, is a
oh,
cesspool. Before Blue Sky, trying to start a civil discourse about wrestling ultimately attracted so many trolls and became so tribal and just
mhm.
attracted so many BFAs. I couldn't. I just That's what I used Twitter for mostly. About 90% of my tweets were wrestling related. And like it just it was so bad. So having this podcast actually talk about the stuff that I like, which is a lot more than apparently a lot of wrestling fans on Twitter anyway seem to enjoy. This has been therapeutic in a way,
Mhm.
you know. So I'm glad that y'all can sit in for an actual therapist and save me a bunch of money.
Yeah, oh, I'm glad people are sitting with us too. Like I said earlier, we've had that uptick in viewership lately, and I am just like super happy that people are listening at all. But really, I mean, yeah, I mean this is a project for us, for all of you listening. You have to understand, like this is really more for me and Adam,
Yeah, it's a
than
passion
it
project
is.
for
Yeah, it's a
sure.
passion project. We're not doing it for listeners. It's mostly because I like to sit down for 3 hours a week and have a conversation about wrestling with somebody else who likes wrestling as much as I do, and not have to worry about spending an hour talking about how terrible everything is.
When
Because
it's
things aren't
clearly not.
terrible. Yeah, it's clearly not. That's oh God,
Clearly
that's the thing that's
not.
bothering me. Like things are clear, and I'm going to say this now. I've seen lately that, especially lately, that things are so good that people are looking for things to be mad about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Like even when we mandate when we do this show and we review each WWE and AEW show, we mandate ourselves mostly to keep ourselves honest and to keep everything 100 and not to, you know, delude ourselves. We try and fit in at least one thing that could use some work on the shows. And you know what? Lately, that's been kind of difficult in some cases, which is a great problem to have. Like
yeah,
I don't know why anybody would be complaining about that problem.
you know, honestly, I think that even the stuff that I've seen people complaining about recently, like we could get rid of all of this if some wrestling fans will use the same mantra that I use in these situations, which is let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like okay, WWE fans, we're griping about things. Like I am a WWE fan. I know what you're griping about. You're griping about Vince era shit right now. Let it go. Let the just you know what we can do. The best thing we can do in this situation is let the lawsuits play out and never mention the man's name.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the converse side, AEW fans, my wonderful, lovely sicko brethren, let CM Punk out of the apartment that he is renting for free in your head, pretty please.
Yeah.
Just forget
I
about the
mean,
man. Forget
you
about
and
him.
I, you and I have different opinions about the guy. How often has he come up? How often has his name been burst through my lips on this podcast in all the 11 prior episodes to this?
Not often.
I can count on one hand. And was it to complain about anything that he did? No.
No.
It was to provide honest commentary. It was to provide context. It, I don't like the way things shook down, but like you said, it's as an AEW viewer, he's not there anymore. There's no trouble that involves him anymore. So just like you said, let it go.
Yeah. There is
There's no
great shit
reason to
happening.
just there's no reason. There's no reason to have him or anybody else who's causing any other things that you don't like, unless it's like a huge structural problem, like our, for example, our shared view on the Saudi shows. You know, those
Yeah.
are big, big reasons. You know, it's not petty stuff that's on a personal level. Those are
Mm-hmm.
big socio-political reasons. I feel like those are valuable
Yeah.
to hold on to your integrity over. But like this petty crap, ugh. Uh,
Like,
we want to keep it positive, and there's no space for positivity when you are so hung up on somebody who hasn't been there in a year.
mhm. Well, like I don't know who said it or how they said it exactly, and there is a whole Christmas themed thing about this. But I'll just paraphrase the best I can. Do not let the present be ruined by the ghost of the past. And
Mm.
all he is for AEW, like he's in WWE, he's active, he's doing his thing over there. It's cool. And if you're a WWE fan, you're probably enjoying it. AEW is doing some really great shit, and too much of it is being ignored or not given the time it deserved because people are still too concentrated on the ghost of CM Punk that is ever present over AEW the way they see it. That's not the way I see it. The way I see it, he's in WWE. It's just like any other wrestler leaving. Like sometimes wrestlers leave on bad terms. Not any other time than this have I ever seen somebody or seen the exact circumstances of their exit be so thoroughly detailed to the public.
Well, I mean, we live in unprecedented times. To be
That's
fair, I
true,
mean, I mean,
but
the internet was barely a thing when there was an actual big enough competition in between wrestling companies that we could even begin to compare to
yeah,
this
yeah.
time frame.
But
So I mean, mm,
I think that they're gonna have to do just like AEW and WWE fans. Please heed my words. Just do the same thing. You all just need to do the same thing as wrestling fans, and that is take that omnipresent ghost that is sitting above the company of your choice and realize that it is no longer part of the company of your choice. And please enjoy the wrestling that is there in front of you. I have never been so happy to give like 15 hours a week to billionaires. Okay. I've never been so happy in my life. Like, I am
true
a
facts.
asshole. Self-admittedly, I'm a bit of an asshole and I'm kind of cynical and I'm very like about shit. But we're well-fed wrestling fans right now, y'all. Like, we have no reason to fucking bitch. None
Mm,
at all. If you want to be mad about a botch in the ring, go watch Boss Mania and laugh it off like they're doing, and the people who were in the botch are probably doing backstage after it happened.
yeah,
Just laugh it off. If you're worried about what X person might have said about your company, fucking don't worry about it, man. And by the way, for those of you who I have seen today who are talking about the CM Punk and Hangman situation still as if it's still a situation. Hangman's words this week about his moveset were about Logan Paul, not CM
yeah,
Punk, guys. And
yeah,
I'm with him on that because fuck Logan Paul. All
yeah,
right, now.
yeah, yeah.
So
I think it only came up because somebody on top of that said, "Yeah, look at the." I think it was somebody on Blue Sky was, yeah, the last guy who tried to steal that buckshot Larry couldn't even do it properly. Obviously referencing Punk, and that's an honest criticism
that is an
of that
honest
one
criticism.
moment.
He fucked that move up.
But that being said, all it did was rile up these people's emotions again. Guys, guys, please just stop. The
Yeah,
tribal crap is just so exhausting. I
just
am
leave it
going to be
alone.
turning 40 in 2 months. I do not have the time. I do not have the patience. I do not have the energy for this. Please make it easy on us. Make it easy on yourselves. You will be a lot happier.
Yes. We are happier wrestling fans for it. I promise.
For
We
certain.
are. I've even gotten Adam to pick up his fucking fingers and watch some WWE content this year versus probably zero last year. So if
With the exception of
Adam
the Royal Rumble. I
oh,
always kind
okay.
of make an exception of
I
the
always
Rumble.
watch the Rumble whether I'm watching WWE or
I
not, so
wasn't
I feel you.
impressed with it
Oh,
this year, to be honest. But
well,
yeah,
we can
yeah,
talk about
the
that.
Rumbles, the Rumble's my favorite. Like,
Heck yeah.
I'm gonna probably try and watch the Rumble at some point. Maybe not on the night of, but I'm probably gonna watch
I definitely will be watching
it.
Rumble night of.
Yeah.
Shit, that's probably gonna be on a Sunday, isn't it? Fuck.
Oh yeah, most likely.
Oh boy, we might have a late recording that night.
Maybe.
Maybe a watch along, guys, and that'll be that way for that week's episode. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out because we still haven't had a Sunday pay-per-view issue yet. Um,
No, not yet.
Everything's been on Saturday, including this week's Saturday Night Main Event, which was a banger. Um,
We'll get
and we'll
to that
talk
in
about it.
not too
Yes, we
long from
will.
now.
So, Adam, why don't you run the socials down?
All right, you can find us on Blue Sky at smarkfndmpodcast.bsky.social. Aaron is at aaronsmark.bsky.social. I am Aaron Smark FNDNpod.bsky.social. You can find our home for our podcast at rss.com/podcast/Smark Foundation. You can also stream us wherever you prefer to stream our any of your podcasts, with the exception of Apple, which we are still working on. You can find us on YouTube at Smark Foundation Podcast, and you can buy our merch at smarkfoundationpodcast.printful.me.
All right. Yeah, make sure y'all check out all those links. We are perpetually online, and we would love to see you walking around in our merch as always.
Yes, I'm
So,
getting better at that, guys. Getting better.
and with that, we'll go right into our lockup for the week, which will be WWE Raw. Man, oh man. Okay, so we were already talking about in the intro. We remain well-fed wrestling fans. I'll just get that part out of the way now. Um, Also, right off the bat, okay, you know how like every week I say awesome job Dom for having nuclear heat, right?
Yeah,
Dom has been usurped
by the New Day.
by the New Day,
Yeah, I
who
figured that
went
was
out
coming.
for a segment to the ring and did not get a word out. Not a word. They stood there for 5 minutes to a cacophony of huge boos, and then they left. That was literally their entire segment. We're going to go ahead and get that out of the way. Guess what, guys? Y'all hurt my feelings last week, and this is what you deserve. And
It
apparently,
reminds
I am not the only one.
it reminds me of that one one of my favorite Eddie Guerrero promos was the one where he turned on Rey Mysterio prior week and comes out to the ring and he's just got this sullen look on his face and he's got Ray's mask in his hand, right? And he's just like you just described with the New Day. He's just there's this din of just boos and jeers and spitting and how could yous, and he just kind of looks around, very depressed looking, and he just drops the mask and he stomps on it and he just kind of grinds it into the mat and then he leaves without saying a word. Like sometimes you don't need words. And I guess the New Day said all they needed to say, didn't they?
I guess they did. Fuck, man. Like I now know that I'm not the only one. Over this past week, looking at social media, everybody's feelings were hurt by this segment, and it showed. WWE, what you are doing right now. I don't know. I still don't know where this is going to go, and I really hope it's leading to like an already cleared Big E, and they're just really keeping it under the hat. And we know that Triple H and TKO are good at keeping shit under their hat until it's time to, really get it down. I mean, they could sneak Big E into an arena. We would never know. They've done it before. They did it this year a couple of times. So, I mean, I like being surprised. And I really hope that's where this is going, and it wouldn't be that big of a surprise because that's what I'm hoping for. But they're cooking, man. They're whatever the heat that they want is the heat that they're getting. Holy shit, it's working. Like, and it's working on me too. Yeah, they're making a mark out of me. I'm pissed at the New Day right now. Like, I get it. So,
You know who I'm happy for? I'm
hmm,
happy for Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston for having probably the easiest night of their entire careers. They go
mm,
out there, they stand in the ring for 5 minutes, they leave, dust them, wash their hands, and be done with it. Good on them. Good on them. That's an honest
yeah,
day's work right there.
right. So, now, we've got, oh, sorry, I'm gonna get my, okay, there, okay. So they kind of recap Punk and Rollins from last week. It looks like we're getting Punk and Rollins at the Netflix debut.
Okay.
Which they are apparently booking the Netflix debut like a pay-per-view. We will get more into that. I'm sure this week, especially, we'll hear more about that. Because that's kind of the next thing is Netflix. So, even before the Rumble. But so it looks like some things like Rollins and Punk are going to get resolved right at the fucking start of the year. So,
I wouldn't go so far as to predict a resolution.
well, we'll
I
see.
predict step one.
We'll see. So then Gunther comes out and he has, he's starting his promo and he's interrupted almost immediately by Finn Balor. And Finn's standing on the ground and Gunther's in the ring and he's like, I used to look up to you, but now I'm literally and figuratively looking down on you. He's like, I am the best in the world right now, and you were the best in the world 8 years ago for one night. And so Finn is, talking shit back, and Gunther's like, "You didn't earn this title shot that you're getting at Saturday night's main event on skill. You earned it on audacity." He was like, "The audacity you would have to even ask for this title shot or try to get my attention. Well, you want it, now you have it." And so, they're talking shit back and forth, and here's the Judgment Day, and they attack Gunther, and then Damian Priest comes in for what looks like the save, and hits he knocks Finn out of the ring, and then Gunther attacks Damian Priest, and then they are all three fighting, and we know where this is leading because directly after we have a segment where they've turned the Saturday night main event match between the two of them into now a Saturday night's main event match against the three of them, with the three of them. I I don't like things changing this quickly, but we'll see how it turns out, and we will. So
And do like the occasional air of unpredictability, though.
I do like
You know,
that. I do like
I,
that. I
I don't
just
think you can get away with it that often, but every
yeah.
once in a while, I feel like you need that to be like, oh, okay, car really is subject to change.
Yeah. But for me, it's like we're 5 days out, guys. Come on, like I mean, I know we're changing. I know unpredictability, and that's why I don't hate it. But I'm also
Yeah.
like, we're 5 days out. Like this match was announced like a couple weeks ago. Like we knew what we were getting, and now
Yeah.
it's changing again. You know, and the thing I'm like, why it's changing because it's probably not going to change the result. Just adding Damian Priest to it. No offense to Damian Priest, but it's
No,
just
it
it's not
just
going to
makes it
change.
so Damien doesn't have to take a pin again.
Fair.
Keep him
Um,
looking strong because I mean, it doesn't matter if the heel looks strong, the
yeah.
heel
So
challenger.
that ends with Balor giving Priest like three coup de grace,
Ugh.
and then they make this match. So, but it was really weird because like he's talking about like Adam Pearce has been talking about them defending their tag team championships for weeks, kind of like throwing little hints out there that they're going to be doing that soon, and we have gotten nothing about it. I think tomorrow it's them and War Raiders. I think. Um, I think that might have been like the only thing that has been said about it over like 2 weeks. Um, so I'll have to check out some other things and see if I noted
I
that
mean, they
anywhere.
should just switch that on principle. I
Right.
mean, if they're lampshading the fact that they're not doing anything with these guys as champs, you might as well just switch the belts.
Yeah. Um, then we had an 8-man tag match with the Wyatt Six and the Final Testament and the Miz. Um, it was a good match. It was kind of short for having 8 people in it. A lot went on, but ultimately it came down to Paul Ellering returned and
Hey,
doused Uncle Howdy in like powder, and that allowed Karrion Cross to get the pin on him. Now, I have seen people online say that, oh, of course, that's how they're going to end the Wyatt Six, and I'm like, no, that's just the start. Paul Ellering got mandible clawed. He came back and cost them a match. This feud will continue. Okay, we will see more of this, especially probably more of the Nikki Cross and Scarlett angle because Nikki Cross continues to stalk Scarlett basically.
mm,
Which I think is kind of an interesting angle of this whole thing because I really am not too into the two groups fighting each other, but I am kind of into Nikki Cross stalking Scarlett because Nikki Cross is good at being creepy and Scarlett's good at acting terrified,
can
and
you
it's been working.
can you name two more different characters
No,
than Scarlett and Nikki Cross? Even normal Nikki Cross is so much different than Scarlett. Now, let alone creepy Abigail the Witch version. Like,
yeah, but I liked this mainly because Paul Ellering came back. Because really, when he got the mandible claw, I thought that was going to be a way for them to write them off write him off TV, and maybe that would be the last time we saw Paul Ellering. He is kind of getting up there in age, and
mm,
being that he is the last surviving member of the Road Warriors, um, I mean, he obviously already has a nice bouquet of flowers, but let's continue employing this
now,
man and
hang on. I
and have
think
him on TV.
Heinrich's still alive.
Who? And that's all I'm going to say. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about the other one either. The other guy who I actually liked him as a person that they tried to
Yeah.
wedge into the. I don't talk about him in LOD either because
Well,
no.
he passed
Yeah, he passed
recently
and
too.
God rest your
Yeah.
soul, Draws. Okay,
Yeah, you
I,
were by all counts a very good person.
a very good person and a fantastic worker. But when I talk about LOD, I mean Animal and Hawk and Paul Ellering, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, and that is not your fault. That is WWE's fault. Okay. Like me not liking that version of LOD is not Draws's fault. I loved
No,
Draws.
no.
Even then, I was like, that's a cool character. And he does kind of fit in. I mean, he's even like body painted kind of in that
Yeah.
same fashion.
Yeah.
I was like, this might work. It just didn't. And it was WWE shitty booking, not your performance, bud. Okay. I
Yeah.
know. So I'm not talking shit on Draws. I'm just there's a line
Yeah.
I have with the LOD and there it is. Okay.
Yeah, I just like
Uh
needling it.
so anyway, that's our last yeah, and we're not and F Heidenreich. Okay. Anyway, so Paul Ellering is the last surviving member of LOD. Let's get back to where I was. Let's keep him employed. Let's keep him on TV. I was glad to see him back. I always get a nostalgia pop out of guys like that. So we'll see where this goes. Um, then we have a sit down interview with Jackie Redmond and CM Punk, and this was kind of crazy because Punk is like, "Look, Seth Rollins doesn't like me because he was the top guy here, and then I came back, and now he's sitting on the bench where the second string belongs because the quarterback is here. You don't play like a Kirk Cousins versus like I forget what the I don't know who he used, but it was like a really famous like second or third string quarterback versus a really famous first string quarterback. He's like, you don't do that.
Probably like Pat Mahomes or somebody.
Yeah, so he was basically just, he called Seth Rollins second string. Eesh. Now
Uh,
I feel like Punk is playing into the angle of being the asshole that everybody on the internet is saying he is. Not
yeah,
who he is. He is playing a version of himself that you think he is.
yeah. He's
And
always been very good at that.
kind of the same way the Bucks did when they became the petty EVPs.
Yeah.
Punk is doing almost that exact same thing,
Isn't that ironic?
isn't it? But hey, you know what? If these two
maybe
companies
this
are
is
going,
maybe this is the bridge. This is the bridge. Everybody can make up.
yeah, everybody can be like
That'd
the
be
Bucks
great.
and the Bucks and Punk are running the same thing as far as attitude wise. And I'll say this: if this is how the two separate groups turn this whole situation into money, y'all should have done it together, but at least somebody's getting paid off it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure he's just playing this version of himself that everybody on the internet is assuming he is, despite many, many, many people saying otherwise. Okay, so we go from there to Dakota Kai versus Liv Morgan. Um, First thing I want to say here is this kind of surprised me. Liv Morgan wrestling, as the women's champion, doesn't tend to wrestle a whole bunch on Raw. Um, Even though she is the Raw Women's Champion, they just don't ever have the women's champion wrestling a lot. Like it didn't seem to happen a lot. Now on SmackDown, Nia wrestles all the damn time. But it was weird that like I just felt like the women's champion, all whether it was Rhea or Liv or whoever, just wasn't wrestling a lot on Raw. And then these last few weeks, Liv's wrestled a lot, like tag matches and singles. This was a title match, um, because WWE doesn't do the eliminator thing, which I like, but we know how those turn out most of the time. But anyway, because it was Dakota
They
Kai,
don't do them on purpose, but they do way more often do non-title matches where the challengers win.
yeah,
And then subsequently, by virtue of that, have put themselves in line for a shot. It's not officially like they do the thing that AEW says they're going to do with these non-title matches, with these eliminator matches. They actually do them under the conceit of it not being official.
right. So Kai was kind of on a roll. Looks like she was going to win, and then Pure Fusion Collective interfered and ruined the match, and that was kind of it. She gave, they set it up to where Liv got Oblivion and got the pin. Um, I don't know why they keep crossing over that. Like every time Damage Control does anything, Pure Fusion Collective seems to interfere, but we get no real story behind it or resolution. I know they have history, but this has to end at some point. It just has to end. Okay. I know that eventually Dakota Kai has to fight one of them for putting her out of commission, but she didn't come back with that. She came back and just started wrestling other people. And now Perfusion Collective is ruining what would otherwise be decent matches. And it's the booking. They're booking these matches to be ruined. I don't understand that part. This is the one thing I really didn't like about this show. And when this type of situation happens, it continues to be something I don't like. But this is like the one thing, I mean, I had to find something. Here it is. I really just don't like this, but not because I just really don't like it. I'm not like choosing not to like it because I had to have something. I just don't like this.
Yeah. No, we
Um,
never point out something simply because we have to dislike something. Like
yeah,
we try to be honest and we try to be constructive, but we're not the kind of people who are going to be looking to pick apart something with a vendetta or with an agenda or anything like that. It's like, well, it's just we don't want to be as much as we don't like the toxic negativity, we don't want to fall into the trap of being blindly positive and thinking that there is no room for improvement anywhere. Like that's not constructive. That's just being a partisan, just in a positive way.
Right. So after that, when Pure Fusion Collective, they're still attacking Dakota Kai. The rest of Damage Control comes out, kind of clears them out. Then Rhea Ripley shows up and clears out Liv and Raquel. And then we get a standoff between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley over the women's championship belt, which is what everybody obviously wants. Like the reaction to that was, this is the match we would like to see. And I agree. Kind of got me hyped. I hadn't even thought about it, but I was like, Rhea versus Io, fucking banger. Because they both
Yep.
kill. So yeah, we'll see
Got to get
how
it off
this
Liv
turns out.
first.
Yeah. Then
Honestly,
we
I
had
mean,
a
the way that you describe too, like you bring up that the women's champion doesn't really wrestle on Raw, and I've noticed that. Like this is, I think, the first time that she's had a singles match this entire time that we've done a podcast. Like on Raw, like on the pay per
yeah,
views, it's different or PLEs,
yeah,
but it's like I I left WWE viewership when Liv was like I never really cared for Liv. Honestly, I do not know whether she's improved to to the point where I would enjoy her more now because I don't watch. I do know that like having a long reign where you don't do anything with it doesn't serve anybody's interests. It really doesn't. Like the exception was Rhea because Rhea was involved with other stuff with her faction.
yeah.
That's really it. Like, and Liv is now involved with that same faction with Dirty Dom and everything, and it's just like, okay, well, like at
We did
least
this.
when Rhea was busy with her faction, at least she was mixing it up with the guys every now and then. She was, what you're just holding on to a belt for no reason. What I mean, just drop it to Rhea and be done with it for God's sake. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting bored listening to this storyline every week, and I'm not even being forced to watch it. I'm just like, ugh, just get it
Yeah.
off her already. That may
Well,
be informed
we'll
by prior
see.
bias, though.
We'll see how this goes. After that, they had a vignette with Drew McIntyre. He basically cops to attacking Jay last week backstage and putting him out of commission, and said that he's attacking Sami Zayn and Jey Uso because they sold out for absolutely nothing. He was like, I can respect CM Punk in this situation because at least he took a bribe. He's like, the rest of you sold out to Roman Reigns for nothing. So basically,
Hmm.
that's his focus now is taking these people on because they sold out to Roman Reigns. Which I guess I wasn't watching when Roman and Drew went out. I think that was the Clash at the Castle thing early this year or maybe last year. Um, but I really wasn't watching, and so I really don't understand the heat between the two, him and Roman Reigns.
Um, Last year, Clash at the Castle, or 2 years ago, it was
Oh
in the
wait,
middle of that long
isn't
reign.
this where Solo showed up for the first time
Solo showed up for the first time.
and he fucked
Everybody
Drew out of
thought
the title?
Drew was going over, and then they ended that show in a really weird way with Tyson Fury coming out and them all having to sing along a Sweet Caroline or whatever it
Oh
was.
yeah, okay, yeah, I remember clips of that shit show and
I,
ugh,
if
okay,
I were Drew, once again, this is one of those situations where, yeah, I get it, dude. They did you dirty. I don't blame you for holding a grudge about that at all.
mm. So after that, then we had Seth Rollins promo, and he's talking about Punk and how I used to look up to him, but now he went somewhere else and failed, and now he came back and because the money was right. Is basically what he said. Which I mean, fair enough.
I mean, fair
But
enough, but he did the same thing.
Sami Zayn interrupts him, and he says, "If you're out here to defend CM Punk some more, we're gonna fight." And Sammy's like, "No, no, I'm not here about that." He's like, "I'm sorry. We both lost our head last week. We fought about it. It happens. When you've known somebody as long as we've known each other, you fight." He's like, "But I'm here to let you know that if you follow this thing with CM Punk, you're just going to end up just like Drew McIntyre." And I was like, "Oh, that's very poignant," because I mean, Drew McIntyre has become decidedly a much more psychopathic character since he had started his interactions with CM Punk. He has become like a
Obsession will do that.
full bore obsessive psychopath, and it looks like he's turned that obsession towards Roman Reigns and anybody associated with him, because now we have it. I think it comes out during this point that, or maybe it was last week, that Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre are going to fight at the pay per view, or at Saturday night's main event. But yeah, he's basically just telling, Seth, like, don't follow this like this because you're gonna end up like Drew. Then after that, we had Lyra versus Zelina versus Ivy Nile for part of the Intercontinental Championship tournament, triple threat, for the tournament. Um, oh yeah, this one I couldn't really call because Ivy's with American Made, so she's kind of being pushed right now, and there's stories going on with her. Zelina's part of the LWO. She's being pushed always. She's incredibly over with the crowd always, especially ever since Puerto Rico. She's just been super over. Lyra
I
is
mean,
kind of
it's hard not to root for the Chancla.
yeah. Now you remember the girl whose name I couldn't remember the other week that won that battle royal or whatever, and I couldn't remember her
Yeah,
name. It was Lyra
yeah.
Valkyria.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so Lyra's like super popular apparently. I didn't know much about her really, but she's super popular. So this one I couldn't really call when it first started. But it was, of course, not very long to figure out who, because WWE, these triple threat matches are sub 5 minutes. Why? Someone answer this question for me. I don't like it. But Valkyria takes the win in this one, surprising to me because the other two ladies are more tenured and have a bigger push going on and stuff like that. But Valkyria is upcoming and super popular, so she advances in the Intercontinental title tournament. After that, we had the New Day promo. We already talked about that. We don't need to go over that again. Literally, boo is all I can say
Yeah.
about this whole thing. Um, New Day sucks chance. We want Big E chance. Like, if the crowd was not booing, they were chanting for Big E, basically. And loudly. So then after that, we had an Anything Goes match with Rhea versus Raquel. And it looked for a second after some interference like Ripley was going to lose. Liv got in. She got the Oblivion on Ripley and then got out. But they drug a table in and Ripley turned it around and rip-tided Rodriguez through the table and finished it off. Was a really good like women's hardcore match. AW 100% has them on this. Okay, I'm sorry. This
Yeah.
was not as good as like Britt and Thunder Rosa or something like
Yeah.
that. But it was good. It wasn't bad. It's just y'all don't do this, WWE. So just accentuate the positives, hide
Well,
the
I mean, I
negatives.
think that
Like
it comes down to AEW is just willing to let their performers do more in the ring when it comes to dangerous stuff, for better or for worse. Like a WWE hardcore match is a much different animal than an AEW hardcore style
that's
match.
true. That's true.
Like it's just because of WWE. It comes down to safety, A, and B, not wanting to tick off advertisers.
Mm,
So, I get why, but it'll
yeah.
always, I think you're always going to it's going to be wind up being more sanitized,
Right.
you know?
So this was the main event. So that's where I'm going to kind of end things. But good on WWE for putting up on another women's main event. I really like that women are being featured more in main events. I like that a lot.
This was a
Like
good week for women
it was. I think there was one.
on
I think there was
wrestling.
almost a women's main event almost every show this week. So
Almost
almost.
every show.
So, um, the only reason this match wasn't as good as it could have been is because it was sub 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, you
You
got
gotta
a
let these
match with
things breathe,
furniture.
man.
Yeah, if you got a match with furniture, you need 20. Okay,
Yeah.
you need
15
20.
at least.
Like, take it
15 at
from a guy
least.
who has worked the indies for the last 15 years and watched every possible piece of furniture be involved in every possible type of match. And I've seen people be hurt by furniture they didn't even realize was in a certain spot when they got thrown into it. So,
Mm.
like, these matches need like 20, 25, 30 minutes to really breathe, really play out, really sell the amount of damage that's being done. I understand you have a TV show and a format and things that have to go in there, but if you can't give a match like this 20 minutes, change it, change it,
I
make
wonder
it
if
just a
that'll
regular match,
I
something.
wonder if that'll change now that they're on Netflix and they're now no longer beholden to a time slot like
I
they
hope
are on
so.
cable.
I hope
Like
so, but
I
that could
don't
make watching live
I don't
tedious,
know.
not
I
knowing
know.
exactly when it
Like
will end.
I'm curious to see what they do with it though.
Yeah, I'm really curious. A lot of questions will be answered in like what, like, dude, on the day of our first season two broadcast, we will have answers on how this is all going to work, and I'm
At least
super excited.
preliminary ones. I mean,
Yeah,
there are probably going to be growing pains with this situation, just like there are with anything that's completely untested. Like
right,
this is brand new, uncharted territory for wrestling.
right.
Absolutely, I can't call it. Like you can't even as big as the simulcast stuff is with AEW as part of their deal. The fact that they're being simulcast and they're still on TBS and TNT means that they may be given an overrun by the station, but they're still going to be beholden to the station. It's
Mhm.
not going to be a free for all. So
Yeah,
this is a situation with WWE and Netflix. Nobody's done this before.
no,
So I think you're going to see probably the first several months, they're probably going to toy with a bunch of different stuff, and then they'll finally settle into something that they're comfortable with. Now,
yeah,
what that winds up being, the hell knows. I don't,
yeah.
but
We'll
we'll find
see.
out.
Yeah. But Raw this week was really good. Like other than that, like the live and the PFC thing, like that I didn't like. Raw was good. So big up on that one. And that's gonna lead us into our shine.
Shine,
All
baby.
right.
Okay. Winter is coming. Theme for the whole week, the whole slate of AEW programming actually was themed that not just the Dynamite. But we're talking about Dynamite first, so here we go. Show opened up with John Moxley and Pac uh with taking on Jay White and Orange Cassidy. Real good way to start stuff off. Crowd was hot. These smaller venues are really, really paying off already because it's much better to be in a packed smaller venue than it is to be in an echoey, half full bigger venue. Because the energy is just there. When you're forced to be all together and you're all experiencing that same thing, it's a much different experience as an audience member than when you are. I mean, most of my better wrestling memories come from like indie shows because those are like you're all communally together. You're packed to the gills. You the energy is it's not mitigated by anything. It just bounces from person to person. It's just an echo chamber in a good way of excitement. So this was already we were already feeling the benefits of the shows last week for moving to those arenas. Same thing continues here. Crowd was hot for it the whole time. Lots of moving parts in this one because they're heading up for a four-way here, so they had to have a lot of moving parts, especially with Christian Cage hanging out with his fake sons in the upper deck there. Like
Yeah.
he's just watching. He's conducting his business, and then he sends Kip Sabian and Mother Wayne and Nick Wayne off somewhere like halfway through the match. Doesn't really we never really figure out why they were waved off, what he had them do, whatever, but it doesn't really matter. Um, anyway, so they're watching from the skybox, and man, I cannot get over the insane chemistry that John Moxley has with Orange Cassidy of all people. Like it's insane. Every time they're in there together, they just have this electricity between the way they work with each other. It's next level stuff. Um, I and this might be a slightly spicy take. I honestly think their dynamic is better than even the best matches that Mox had with Seth Rollins in WWE. I honestly think just the chemistry is there. He's a big bully versus this little small plucky guy who's way better than anybody gives him credit for. It just works. Um Finish came when uh, Moxley, who was selling a lot more than he normally does throughout this entire match, especially at the beginning. He was because the baby faces jumped the heels before the match started, and they put a beating to him for a good like 5 minutes before they rolled in the ring and the bell actually sounded. But that paid off later because Mox was looking shakier than he's looked in a long time. I gotta say, like they're doing a real good job of finally making him look a little bit more vulnerable. Orange Cassidy was about to finish it off when uh, Hangman did something that I'm sure he was justified in doing, and he caused the very rare AEW DQ finish. Um, yeah, it was weird. I mean, I get it, but like, why here? I don't really know. I mean, probably just to we had that great moment with him and Jay White and Orange Cassidy in the ring, all united, and
Hmm.
now you needed to feed that John Moxley promo that would come later about how all of their egos would do them in, which
Yeah.
is true. Um, it's true. But you need to sow that division because everybody's going into this with their own aims aside from just being the champion. So
Yeah.
I get it from a storyline necessity. I don't really understand why you need to like I don't know. It kind of ruined the flow of what was otherwise a really exciting match. But yeah, the baby faces all beat each other up when Jay White joins the fray. They're all like kicking each other's butts, and then the Death Riders come and pick the bones basically, and then they just leave. It cuts the promo that I talked about a little bit later in the show. He makes the the 4-way match for World's End official, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the living on knife's edge is the only way to live." And I'm like, dude, I think you need to go back to rehab, but not for drugs. Like you lead a very dangerous lifestyle, and I think Renee probably doesn't really appreciate it. I'm just saying. I don't know her, but uh, oh yeah, after the match, that it was something else I liked a lot. Christian cuts his promo in the skybox afterwards, right? And he's like basically saying that doesn't matter who walks out of that. I may just come in and clean up what's left and everything. And he goes. The camera follows him a little bit further into the skybox, and through the window on the door to the skybox, you see Hook come in into frame, and Christian is he doesn't see him at first, and it's just like, oh, and then Hook just
Oh.
destroys Christian Cage. And I don't think enough people are talking about this, but Hook almost committed a murder himself by hanging
Yeah.
Christian over the edge of the railing there. Like he he was looking he was looking for crime. Get get Simon Miller to up the crime counter one
Yeah,
more
crime
time
counter.
before 2024 ends because that was an attempted murder. It's contagious in that AEW locker room, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, but yeah, Kip and Nick eventually come in, from whatever errand they were on, and they kind of even the score a little bit. But eventually, Hook's able to escape. It was a great thing because we hadn't seen Hook in a couple of weeks, really, and him just showing up there, like in a surprise in the doorway, brilliant, inspired piece of cinematography and placement. I thought that was great. Um, Next match was Claudio versus Will Ospreay in the Gold League at the Continental Classic. Will Ospreay even the score. He and Claudio are both at 6 points at the Gold League, both tied for leading that. Good stuff. I feel like this was like a 3.5 star match that is priming us for a rematch later down the road with higher stakes that's going to be really good. Like this
Mhm.
seemed like this was setting something up. Like this is a teaser for what you're going to get later. That may be months down the line for all I know, but I don't. I think they on purpose kind of held back a little bit so that they had more to show for an upcoming sequel.
Yeah.
That being said, it's Will Ospreay, it's Claudio Castagnoli. I don't think they could have a bad match with a ring full of grannies. Like, like the just it was great stuff. Uh, Claudio just lift at one point. He just lifts Osprey dead weight off the mat from a prone position on his stomach. Like the insane strength of this man is just it surprises me every time, even though I've been seeing him wrestle for like 15 years now. Like every single time, it just he keeps on surprising me. Um, the finish comes when uh Claudio tries for the running lariat, though he didn't. That's one in his first 6 points, but he didn't set up like the last time, so it didn't work. He didn't put him out on the floor for a 9 count, then hit him with it, so it didn't work. Uh,
Yeah.
I still think that lariat should be an uppercut, a running uppercut. It's much more Claudio. It's. I mean, everybody uses the lariat. Like, no disrespect to the people who do really good lariats, especially, but like everybody does one. Not super special.
Yeah.
When everybody does one. Um, but yeah, he did that, and then a little bit later, they do the pop up into the European uppercut for a real close two count. Uh, though that's what set up the lariat. But then he tries for the Ricola bomb, but Osprey rolls him up for the surprise 3 count. And then he gets hit with the neutralizer for his troubles, but after the bell. So no, this is not bitter at all from Claudio. But
No,
yeah,
not at
like
all.
that's gonna set things up. I'm good with that. Um, so all right. Well, let's talk about Ricochet versus Brody King first, because I thought this was fantastic. I honestly thought this was match of the night. Not gonna lie, I thought this was match of the night because they had set it up with a promo from Ricochet that was kind of weird. He was being kind of rude and obnoxious and uh, in a way that we hadn't really seen him before. And it was
Hmm.
like, okay, well, we saw kind of glimpses of his match with Commander that he was kind of leaning a little bit more aggressive and stuff like that. So this seems to be heading in a direction. But uh, here against Brody King, oh my gosh, he was hilarious. Ricochet was friggin' hilarious in his selling. He got his. It was like there are dominant matches, and then there's this. I wouldn't call it a squash necessarily because of the results, because I mean that defies the definition of a squash if the result is the opposite of what you think. But this literally was like 90% Brody King, and he was just throwing him from pillar to post. And Ricochet the whole time was bumping like a maniac and saying, oh God, don't hit me again." Like he was way over the top. It was like Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan level stuff. Like it was like as soon as he started doing that, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm invested in this Ricochet heel turn now because this is hilarious and far more personality than we've ever seen Ricochet being allowed to show on the big stage.
Yeah.
He's the guy with the moves. He does the flips. He does the superhero poses. He does the double moonsaults. He does all the crazy stuff, and that's like kind of all he was. Because, I mean, there's an argument to be there that that's kind of all you need to a degree
Yeah.
until you need more. It'll get you so far. And now he's being asked, and I'm sure that he asked for this. He's being asked to show more personality, and he's showing personality, all right. Like he's antagonizing the crowd. He's overselling Brody King, saying, "Oh, don't let him hit me again." Like, it was so entertaining, and Ricochet winds up getting a not so clean win. I don't think he pulled the pad off on purpose. I think
Mm.
it played it like an accident. But when Brody King
Yeah.
hit his head several times on the ring because of accidents, and then when Ricochet threw him into it, Ricochet played off more like, well, I didn't plan for this, but you know what? I'm okay with it, and he got the 3 points. Like, uh, honestly, if you were gonna have Brody King lose, this is a good way to protect him in that loss. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, he dominated the whole thing and only lost due to hitting his head, not just once, even like he hit his head 3 times on that metal ring. Like
Yeah.
it that's a totally reasonable way for somebody to lose, anybody to lose. So,
Yeah.
by wrestling standards, I thought this was really, really good for the story that it told, for the character arc that it's pushing for Ricochet, for an excuse for Brody King to not destroy literally everybody in the block. you know, because let's be real here, he probably shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, no, this was I was very pleasantly over the moon about this match. I really, really liked where they took it. Uh, Back to a similar thing though that we've mentioned. I've mentioned on several weeks in a row now. The Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly stuff just didn't hit. It wasn't bad. It was just I've seen so many of their matches together that did better. Like the one that comes to mind immediately. Have you ever seen their? I think it was like 2012 in Ring of Honor. They had like this weird, like MMA style inspired match. They called it a hybrid rules match. I think it was on Death Before Dishonor, maybe. I'm thinking in 2012,
Maybe.
and it was like this 12-minute match, but they beat the crap out of each other to the point where just blood erupted from Adam Cole's face, and he was really, really gritty and MMA inspired. And like I think that it was the only time that they did a hybrid rules match like that. But like that's the one that sticks out to me that was like way better than this one. This was
Hmm.
like I love Kyle O'Reilly and I love Adam Cole, but I'm tired of this storyline. I want it to just end.
Yeah.
Hopefully with Adam Cole relieving Max of that diamond ring on his hand, because I'm done with the diamond too. I hate it. It's been 5 years. Get a new thing. Like, I mean, with all the creative ways that MJF cheats anyway, why does he need the ring? Like, he's
Right.
so much more creative than that. Just continue to come up with new stuff. It's not like he wrestles every week. He's the guy who's there the least. Like, at least in the position that he's in, he's got time to come up with new stuff to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, Cole, he wins after MJF's interference kind of backfires on him. MJF did actually show up to work this week. Uh, but it's just like I'm just glad that this is hopefully. I hope that Tony Khan, if he wasn't planning on having this be the final act of this thing, I hope he just pulls an audible and he just ends it.
Hmm.
Like I would prefer if Cole went over and relieves him of the ring, and then we never have to deal with it again. But I don't even really care all that much as long as it ends. Like MJF could destroy Adam Cole, and I wouldn't be happy about that, but at least it would be over. You know, I miss Samoa Joe. Can we have Samoa Joe come out and choke the life out of MJF, please? That would be
Pretty
great.
please.
Pretty please. I miss that. I miss that big man. That guy. That guy a year ago was the world champion,
Hmm.
and now he went off to film a silly movie, and he hasn't been seen in weeks and weeks, and he's probably just going to go back to beating up Chris Jericho instead. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Uh, Ended the show with Mariah May defending the World Women's Championship against Mina Shirakawa. Wasn't like huge into this until until last week when they did that like 30-second, 60-second promo package for it.
Hmm.
Really well done. And it was like, oh wow, I'm actually kind of hyped for this now. Like even though I knew the outcome was pretty. I mean, the outcome was. Uh, come on. nobody thought Mina was going to win. She's over. It's great.
Mhm.
I love that Mina's over. She's over with me. I love Mina, but like she had no chance of winning this match. Come
Yeah.
on. This was kind of back and forth, a little sloppy, actually. Like I don't know if they've ever actually like faced each other before. Like I know they were a tag team in Stardom. I don't know if they've ever faced each other before. But this looked kind of like their chemistry just seemed kind of off. I don't know if it was because of they were in the main event and they had a big moment to set up or whatever. But like I mean, it's not that it wasn't bad. It was just it could have been better. Uh,
Mhm.
Mariah actually hits what I thought was cool was Mariah actually hits the Mayday, which we haven't seen her use since she won the title. We haven't seen her use it in months, and it only got a two. It was notably she can only win with Tony's finish. She can only win with the Storm Zero. It's become instead of what started out as a way to continue to needle and stick it to Tony Storm has now become a crutch for me. And I think that's probably going to play into future matches. And that attention to detail I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But the big moment was after the match. May won, and Tony Storm's old music hits, her fake Barracuda hits,
Yeah.
or Jimmy Hart version of Barracuda hits, and she comes out looking like she did when she debuted 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever it was, and like she was like the crowd was super into it. Mariah May was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" But Tony was like, she didn't really do anything, and this
Mhm.
set the internet on fire because nobody can just you know it's like we had the rest of the habit. We had two more shows to get through the end of this week to explain the direction here, but nobody could wait, you know, 48 hours until Rampage to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we'll talk on that when we get to it. But I thought this was really well done. I nearly woke up my kids shouting that Tony was back. It was I love Tony Storm, and that's no secret to literally anybody who knows me. I am so glad that she's back. I don't care what iteration she is, and I will gladly accept her. She has been the best character in wrestling for all of 2024, in my estimation. Um, Maybe Hangman, maybe Drew sits there too, but like, man, maybe Christian Cage, Dark Horse, but
Mhm.
but yeah, like she blew everybody's expectations out of the water for her character work, which she never really got much to sink her teeth into before, and she just ran away with it. So I am the direction that they're going with this. I'm really excited to see how it plays down the future, down the line here.
Oh, yeah.
But with that, I think it's time for the Morton.
Yes, it is. All right. So for our hope spot this week, our no, this is our Morton. God dang it.
Is there a Morton?
Okay. Cut, edit, action. Okay. All right. For our Morton spot this week, we've got SmackDown. Um, this week was a pretty quick episode, really. I mean, it's kind of all go home for Saturday night's main event, but it just kind of went by really fast. Um, we started off with Meechin versus Tiffany Stratton. They had Stratton in the back with Naya and Candice LeRae. And Naya was trying to tell Tiffany if she won the United States Championship, she wouldn't need her money in the bank to cash in on anybody anymore. You know, obviously trying to protect her spot continually. Um, and then Candice mentioned that she got her and Naya a shot at the women's tag team championships so that Nia could have two belts. So again, we're kind of running with this. Candice is trying to supplant Tiffany, and we're going towards Tiffany's going to cash in on Nia at some point, I think. But first, we have Michin versus Tiffany Stratton as a semifinal for the women's United States Championship tournament. Michin takes the win here. Kind of a short match. I think it was 5 to 7 minutes. But Michin took the win, which I totally didn't expect. So cool.
Good
We
for
got
her.
Michin in the finals on Saturday night main event for the women's U.S. Championship. Um, then we had Jimmy Uso coming out, and the crowd's chanting "Yeet" at him, and he said they're chanting for the wrong twin. Um,
Well,
but he, was talking about how much he loved being at SmackDown and all this other stuff. I mean, basically, it seemed like kind of just like a rah rah speech, really, but it wasn't really specifically for anything but like himself. Don't really know what's going on here. Looks like he might be chasing down a singles title at some point. I mean, they one
okay.
brother, the other brother. Okay, here we go. Then we had Carmelo Hayes versus Braun Strowman. Um, as we came back from commercial to go to this match, we got a Roman Reigns vignette where he talked about how important the Fulalu, I will never say this right, but he talked about how important it was and then challenged Solo for it. So it looks like we might get Solo versus Roman Reigns at the first Raw of 2025 on Netflix for the Fulalu or whatever it's called.
Little fall.
Ulafala. There we go. See, I'm bad at this. At least that one. Um, so then we get to the match. They look like they've been building Hayes lately, but then Strowman basically beat him in 30 seconds or 45 seconds.
Yeah, that
So
sounds about right.
I don't know what's going on here, but it was kind of dumb. That's really the main thing I didn't like about this uh show. There it is. Right there was that match. It really was inconsequential, and they were building one guy and not building the other. The other one's kind of already built. He's the monster among men. He's a big motherfucker, whatever. And then
Hasn't
just
he been off TV for a while too?
yeah, ever since he faced Bronson Reed in that Monsters match.
Yeah.
But now that Bronson's gone, I guess they have to have another monster. So they brought Strowman back, but he is going up against the guy who's like the number one draft pick of SmackDown and just squashes him. This didn't make any
Yeah.
sense to me. None of it made sense. I don't know what the deal is here. Um, After that, we had LA Knight. He had like a backstage thing. He also apparently has a problem pronouncing Ulafala because he called it the waffle waffle or something like that. Yeah. But he's like, I don't care about any of that. He's like, I don't care about any of this crap. He's like, I was just here minding my own business, and then y'all brought yourselves into my business, basically. Um, it ended in a Smoz DQ finish because the Bloodline came out and they tried to attack LA Knight. But then Apollo Crews and Andrade showed up because they've been attacked by the Bloodline in the last couple of weeks, and they were helping him out. But then they both got like Andrade was doing one of his like flip off the ropes moves and caught a Samoan spike from Solo, and then Apollo came flying in and he also caught a Samoan spike from Solo. So uh, I don't know. LA Knight wins, but LA Knight, Apollo Crews, Andrade, like, are we pivoting and now the new Bloodline's going to fight a completely different group of people? I this
I don't know.
it doesn't make sense really, but LA Knight and
Yet,
so yeah, yeah.
yet. I
Well,
mean,
I'm
we
willing to
can
see
see where
where
it
it
goes.
goes, but LA Knight and Solo had some good chemistry, so I'd like to see kind of where that goes. Um, then we had our next actually. Oh yeah, okay, so Um, they had a few vignettes, kind of just they kept putting over, tomorrow's Saturday night's main event. That was really the big focus, and then another women's main event, and this was Bayley versus Chelsea for the last spot in the finals for the U.S. Women's Championship. And boy, did I get surprised when Chelsea Green won this match and not Bayley.
How did that
Holy
happen?
crap! I mean, I have
Don't
an
get me
idea,
wrong.
but
I
it
I
was
love Chelsea. I've seen her work, and I think she's stellar. But wow, like beating Bailey, that's a lot of equity they put in Bailey.
yeah, and so yeah, this was weird. But I mean, they. They had a good match. It was, I think,
Guarantees they
probably
make a new star with the new belt, though.
around 15 minutes, probably.
Yeah.
Definitely the longest women's match in weeks
Mm.
on WWE. So, but it had time to breathe. It was good. They too, they had chemistry, but then like about halfway through the match, it felt like they got off a step from one another,
Yeah.
and it just kind of rode all the way to the finish. So, but even though even with that misstep, I expected Bailey to come out as the winner, and she didn't. So,
Hmm.
surprised me. That means I like it. So, um, and we'll talk some more about the implications of this and what happened in the end a little bit later on. But it was a good match. SmackDown was good. Oh, there is one thing I didn't cover. They had a DIY vignette
Okay.
where they were explaining their heel turn. And it looks like we're going to get like a DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns like extended feud. And I'm
Okay.
100% here for that.
I mean,
So,
who wouldn't be?
yeah. So,
The only people who wouldn't be are those guys who only like big dudes.
yeah.
Like,
So it looks like the SmackDown tag team division is going to be in good hands for a minute. We're at least going to get some really good action out of those two teams.
what
Um,
did they say? How did they justify their actions?
Johnny Gargano having more personality than he's ever had.
I'm telling you, you gotta check out at
He
running NXT as a heel, man.
he's 100% a prick, and just talking
Yeah,
about how like I knew they would trust me and ha ha ha, because he low blowed the dude and cost him the match
yeah.
and took the titles from him. So, but yeah, like Ciampa's like I'm just a madman. He's the evil genius, like so. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, SmackDown kind of was pretty short. It seemed like to me, it just kind of went by really quickly. And also, I mean, that
Better than
partially might
dragging,
be
that's for
because
sure.
I actually started watching SmackDown like 2 or 3 hours before Saturday Night's main event came on. So I was like, fuck, I got to get through this
Ah,
so I can know what's going on. But I mean, I finished it in time to like then have a meal and then watch the pay-per-view. But
right.
um, it was just like it seemed like it went by so fast. But it was good. It was really good. So the normal WWE weekly TV still remains, overall good. So we'll
Good.
we'll see how Saturday night's main event shook out. But then that's gonna take us to our hope spot.
So both of these both of these shows happened at the same time.
Yes.
But the interesting thing is that because of NBA coverage on the East Coast where I live, well, I don't live on the coast, but I live in the Eastern time zone. I couldn't watch it on Triller until like past 10 o'clock. So technically speaking, we could make Saturday night's main event the hot tag or the hope spot. But I feel like yours is a bigger show because it's Saturday night's main event. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe we do kick it to me after all, even though chronologically it's a little wonky.
Yeah. That's Triller's fault though.
That is true. Well, it's the NBA's fault. uh,
Fair enough.
yeah, because I guess it aired. I mean, because it was a pre-taped show, so
Hmm.
I guess it aired in its normal time spot in California. Like I was on Blue Sky, and it was like there was stuff that was trending. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so mad that you get to see this before I do,
Mhm.
because I had to wait, and then I fell asleep, and then I didn't wake because my daughter has decided that after getting used to so long for sleeping through the night, she's only 2, that for 5 out of the last 7 nights that she was going to wake up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason and deprive my wife and I of any and all REM sleep that we could have gotten. So the last night she finally decided to go back to sleep and stay there. So I took a nap, and then when I woke up, it was like midnight. And that's when I watched it, even though I had to be at work the next morning. It was like, oh, I don't have any other time to watch this. I have to watch this for the podcast. So like, you definitely finished your stuff before I did, but I think we're gonna go to me anyway,
Yeah.
simply because as good as Collision was, and Collision was very good, I doubt that a normal episode of Collision will carry the storyline weight that anything that happened on Saturday Night's Main Event.
Yeah.
So, our host spot begins with Jamie Hayter versus Will Nightingale. Banger match. Love this match. I was really looking forward to it. To my recollection, I don't think these two have ever faced each other, at least in AEW. So this was really good. There was a little bit of uncertainty because I could have definitely seen either of them going over and advancing to the Wrestle Dynasty International Women's Cup as the AEW representative. Really could have seen it. Like with the ROH one, I mean, it was always going to be Athena. She's the champ. As long as they put her in there, yeah, she's going to be there. But this one, I have my doubts. But yeah, these two just kicked the crap out of each other. Chopped. Like there was a little like tete-a-tete going at the beginning, which I thought was nice. It was somebody that Jamie Hayter couldn't overpower, which is nice. Like it's like, okay, you've not seen this before. Even with her slimmed down physique, since she's come back, she's still been muscling her way and just beating the tar out of people. So like she's still the powerhouse wrestler, but she couldn't really muscle Willow around. Um, they go back and forth. The lights went out momentarily. Like it looked like it was for 3 seconds, and it was enough to put some doubt in you because it was like the way that they played it off was great because Jamie Hayter looked confused, like legitimately confused. Like, was that supposed to happen or was that not? And then the way that Willow then took advantage of it because she's such a baby face. You don't expect her to take any like cheap ways out of anything. So the way that she just took advantage of the situation was like, was that planned or not? And did they just play it off? Like because they're such pros? Like because they know they need to keep the match going and they just improvised? I thought that was a really nice touch. Later on we would just we would see that was a harbinger of something else. But um no, it was great stuff. They just, like I said, they just kicked the crap out of each other. Really, really hard hitting stuff. Eventually, Hayter looks for the Haterade, but Willow ducks. She hits the pounce. Looks to hit the babe with a power bomb, but Hayter escapes. But a Uranagi into a backbreaker kind of puts, that's a lot of weight to go down on one's knee. So, Hayter kind of ended up regretting the decision she made to reverse that into a kneeling backbreaker, or an Uranagi backbreaker. She goes for the Haterade again, but it's, that few extra seconds on the ground kind of, slapping life back into her knee was just enough for Willow to get up out of it and hit the babe with the power bomb for the 1, 2, 3. Couldn't be happier for Willow. She really deserves. I mean, she's been like Mrs. Forbidden Door this entire year. She won the TBS title. She won the CMLL title. Previous year she was the inaugural women's strong and New Japan Women's Strong champion. Like she's really been like the ambassador for the Forbidden Door concept. So it's good to see her being put in the spot. And afterwards, we got an extra special treat when the lights went out again. And immediately there was Julia Hart, who drops Hayter with a hammerlock DDT and leaves her land. And then, it was so great to hear her, to see her back out on the ramp and have her song hit. Everybody sing along. The house always wins. Oh, it's so good to have Julia back. She was sorely missed. Um, uh, Okada versus the Beast Mortos is up next. I want to preface this by saying I really, really liked the return at the top of the show of the little tiny promos. The or the 5 second, oh yeah, I'm gonna beat you, and this is why, like that they used to have when Collision really first started out. I loved those. I thought it gave a different feel to it. It kind of got you hyped up for what you were gonna see. This one especially was great because it goes to Okada and he's like the Beast Mortos, like questioning, and then it goes to Mortos and he's like, "Argh!" And then it goes back to Okada. He's like more like the bitch Mortos, and then Okada, and then it goes back to Mortos again. A bigger roar. I was just it's my exact brand of silly. I loved it so much. It got me really really pumped for this match, and I gotta say, like Okada went out of his way to sell everything that Mortos threw at him. Like you can tell that the guys who work with Mortos want him to succeed and want him to go higher up the card if they can push him there because everybody is selling like crazy for the guy, even though Mortos is never winning like a single freaking match in this tournament. But like Okada, he got two tilt-a-whirl backbreakers and then that weird like um, inverted torture rack backbreaker in a row, and there was a point where it was like, oh man, it looks like we could have another upset. Like we've already had an upset on Okada in this tournament. Like they got me for a little bit. Like he even put him in that pop up Samoan drop. I was like, there's no way he's getting Okada up there. Okada has hops, but not in that direction. Like, but eventually, Okada finishes out his 5 moves of doom, and he just but Mortos does pull an Undertaker like at the very end of the match. He gets hit with that gorgeous drop kick that Okada throws, and then Okada is all smiles and everything. And then Mortos just sits up, and Okada's like, "Oh no, you don't!" It hits him with a spinning lariat and then a proper rainmaker for the win. I just man, I love Okada. I love this version of Okada. I love the Beast Mortos. You gave me everything I wanted. Like I can't complain about that. Um, Tony Storm had a very short match against Shazza McKenzie. It was longer than her match on Rampage against whoever it was that she beat on Rampage. I can't even remember who it was, but it doesn't matter. But she gets the win with the Storm Zero, and Nigel's funny on commentary. He's not even referring to it as her finish. Oh, that's Mariah May's finish. She's winning with Mariah May's finisher. Uh, but she gets on the mic afterwards, and everything becomes clear about the direction of her character because she's doing one of two things. She's either A, so traumatized by Mariah May beating her that she's regressed into an amnesiac state to the point where she doesn't realize that she's gone back 2 years and become her old self because she said, "Oh, I'm all elite," as if she just got signed.
Yeah.
And she's doing like all the things that she was doing in that initial run. Um, and this is what I think is more likely. She's timeless, but she's playing the role of her old self to get under Mina's skin and force her to give her a rematch. Like I don't know if the end goal is to trick her into thinking that she is an amnesiac and giving Mariah May the unquenchable thirst for screwing her over a second time just because she's so evil. She wouldn't be able to resist it, or if you watch the movie uh, All About Eve, the end, the usurper of the original Starlet's role eventually is blind to the fact that she's now picked up her own usurper at the very end. Her manager sees it and doesn't say anything because he doesn't want to deal with the bitch anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
he's at the end of that movie, that's what happens. I'm wondering if maybe they go all the way with it and the usurper is now Tony Storm to come full circle with it, and Mariah May falls for the amnesiac bit eventually, and then is maybe they play it in reverse, but everybody knows that Tony's going to get her comeuppance, or Tony's going to get her revenge. I don't know. They've got until what, mid-February to end this, essentially.
Yeah,
So
something like that.
we'll see if. I mean, I'm looking forward to it either way. Later on, she'll go and interrupt a backstage interview with Thunder Rosa, where she sets up a World's End title match with Rosa and May in a Tijuana street fight. Uh, they're not in Tijuana, so I don't know why they're doing that. But point being that she Tony interrupts and introduces herself to Thunder Rosa as if they never even tag teamed as Thunderstorm before. Like, oh man, I'm such a big fan of this, that, the other. I'm sorry to interrupt. Later, she would go on to tape a vignette for online where in the background randomly is Mark Briscoe. Oh my God, it's Mark Briscoe. Oh man, this is such a great place. And Briscoe just kind of looks around like, what is going on? Like everything surrounding this is exactly to my taste. It may not be to everybody's, and I understand that. But to me, this is the crap that I love. And I am so, so enjoying this new turn, this new avenue for her creativity, because it's clearly been there the entire time. And it just had been untapped until about a year ago. So wherever Tony takes it, I'm in for the ride. In for a penny, in for a pound, right? Uh, so yeah, there wasn't really a lot of stuff that I didn't like on this show. Honestly, I think if I had to give it to anything, it would be as with a caveat. Like they had Chris Statlander squash whoever 2D Lynn is.
Mhm.
Um, but the match got like maybe a minute and a half. But even that, like, it was still three women's matches on the show. Like, I don't think any other show this week had three women's matches on it. So,
Right.
I mean, even if two of them were kind of squash matches, it's good to see them putting that focus in there. Like, I'm struggling to find something that I didn't really like on the show, quite frankly. Collision continues to deliver. Like they had a great 10-man match. I guess if I do have one, I do have one thing. Um, there are certain competitors in the Continental Classic that are only having to face each to only having to wrestle Continental Classic matches, and then there are others who are being put in other matches, and it's not
Mhm.
fair to those people. Not fair to the Beast Mortos, who last week had a random Rampage squash match where he finally picked up a win over
Mhm.
Aaron Solo, but like it wasn't in the tournament. It's an extra match he had to do. Daniel Garcia and was in this match, and Commander were both in this 10-man tag, which was really fun. It was super fun, and the crowd was really, really into everything that they
Mhm.
did. But like, that's not fair to Commander. That's not fair to Daniel Garcia. Where are Okada's extra matches? Where are Shelton Benjamin's extra matches? Where are Kyle Fletcher's extra matches? You know, like the inconsistent. It's like they're drawing a very clear line. It's like, okay, you guys are the bottom tier of this tournament, so we're going to make you wrestle extra because you're not in the upper tier.
Mhm.
Like that's what it's saying without saying it.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially to do that to one of your champions, and Daniel Garcia is kind of, I don't really like it. Claudio's not having to face anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the whole Death Riders thing going on. So if anybody would be in everybody else's business, it would be him. But I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing Orange Cassidy. I love seeing the Outrunners. I love seeing MXM Collection, and even to a degree, the premier athletes. I like Tony Nese, but like this match was for the crowd and they loved it, and I will never take that away from that. You got to get the live crowd. The live
Mm-hmm.
crowd will influence the watching audience, but there was no real need for this match, and you could take two of those guys out. You could take Daniel Garcia and Commander out and switch them with two other guys who haven't been on TV, and it still would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
You could put them with other members of the conglomeration. You could have put FTR in there. Like you could, I don't know. To me that I guess if there was a thing that bugged me, it was that it's like there's some people in this Continental Classic tournament who are getting better treatment storyline wise by not having to have these extra matches. You
Yeah.
know, uh, main event was a banger, another banger, and out of the blue too. I did not expect Mark Briscoe to actually beat Kyle Fletcher. With the way that they were building Fletcher's momentum, it really, really looked like they were going to have him run the table. He beat
Mm-hmm.
Okada. He
Yeah.
beat the champion. Like I really, I don't. And these guys again beat the crap out of each other. Fletcher had a great moment towards the beginning of the match where the crowd was chanting, like they did last week. Osprey's better, and he rolled to the outside to jack jaws with the fans. Give him a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's 25, and he's already got those little things. That's wisdom in performance, way beyond his years. you
Yeah.
know that's something you get as a 30-year-old. Oh, I need to, if the fans want to have this interaction, I got to give it to them. I want to
Mm-hmm.
give it to them. Like this, I don't know if it's because of innate talent or if it's that in combination with Don Callis's influence, who's been around the ring for 30 years now and is an
Mm-hmm.
awesome antagonist. But like he's excellent in that little moment there. Just they beat again, very physical. Any match with Mark Briscoe is very physical. I love how on commentary, even Don Callis was like, the remaining guys, left. Mark Briscoe kind of scares me from Kyle Fletcher because he's so unpredictable, and like he was putting him over strong on commentary, and it made Briscoe's win at the end all the more cathartic because you still didn't think he had a chance because of how Fletcher was being booked. But he goes for the cutthroat driver. Both guys are down, but too long had elapsed by the time he tried to make the cover and Fletcher rolled to the outside. Uh, Briscoe goes up to the top. He gets a froggy bow to a standing Fletcher on the floor. Uh, Back of the ring, another froggy bow, kicks out. So that's like two finishes in a row, kind of, sort of ish, that he kicked out of. Then 1 minute left in the match, and Briscoe they go through this whole sequence where it looks like they may be going to a tie, but Briscoe eventually gets shoved into the referee, and Kyle looks like he's going to win by cheating again. Goes for the low blow like he did with Okada, but Mark Briscoe's smart. He saw the tape ahead of time. He learned from the other matches in the tournament. He scouted his opponent. He put himself over as a smart guy and a smart wrestler. He caught the low blow, hits him in the stomach, and then hits the J Driller for the 1, 2, 3 with maybe 20 seconds left in the match. And the crowd erupted. It was really, really good. And it probably, honestly, I think it was one of the best matches of the tournament was this match. Um, I don't know if it was the best yet. Well, we still have the rest of the tournament to go, but this was fantastic, classic stuff. People will be looking back at this because of how well they played into Mark Briscoe actually winning here when it
Mm-hmm.
didn't seem like it was going to happen at all. So the
Yeah.
magic of the round robin tournament, right?
Right.
Love it. I loved it. Uh but yeah, that's all I got for the hope spot. So let's bring it home. Let's go to the hot tag.
All right, time for the hot tag. All right, so time for our hot tag, and that this week is Saturday night's main event from WWE, and it was a pretty good show. So let's get right into it. We kicked it off with Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. I figured this would be the kickoff match because there is the like only one that doesn't involve some kind of title. I'm pretty sure. Um, so yeah, we have I think it's the only one that doesn't have a title. Yes. So it was a really good match. Before that though, we had like our typical. They went back and had like an '80s intro, like the old school Saturday Night Main Event intro, and then they flipped it over into kind of the same thing but with the new footage. Um, I can't remember what the name of the song is, but it's like an easily recognizable. Everybody knows this '80s banger, even if they don't know the name of it, type thing. We open to the scene. They're introducing Jesse Ventura. He's wearing the stupid cap and sunglasses and huge feather boa and snakeskin jacket because, of course, he is. It's amazing. He plays up heel all night long. He's still fantastic at it at like 100,000 years old. So he is basically a dinosaur at this point, but he still sounds just like he did back then. So, I mean, when they're not showing him on screen, it totally puts you right back there. Red, white, and blue ropes, old school WWE without the F logo, the gold bars
Yeah.
everywhere, red, white, and blue everything. Um, Referees are wearing the long sleeve blue button ups with the bow ties. Like they really took it back, including Charles Robinson calling like two of the matches.
Huh.
So freaking awesome. And he still looks like he did then, except he's got a little gray at the edges. Lucky bastard at 60 barely has any gray. So,
Right.
um, anyway, we kick it off with Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. It was a really brutal match. Like McIntyre basically spent the whole match beating up on Zayn, and Zayn spent the whole match persevering and giving it back to him. Um, McIntyre dodged the haluva kick, and then when he after he dodged that, he got back in the ring and hit Zayn with the claymore, and that was the end. So it was about 10 minutes. It wasn't very long, but it was a good way. The crowd, it was pretty brutal. Um, McIntyre got the win, but the crowd was hot for it. Um, okay, here's we're gonna get pretty quickly to what I didn't like about this show. Um,
Okay.
Jesse Ventura took a shot at Dusty Rhodes by saying Cody wasn't his son because Cody has a six pack abs and Dusty Rhodes just had mini abs, which is a really terrible fat joke. And when he said it, the crowd could hear him and they didn't appreciate it either.
Mm.
Whatever they were shooting for there, it didn't land. Other than that, Ventura was class all night long and he was a great heel commentator, but this did not land. It didn't work. Yeah, y'all should have ran this by somebody before you said, okay, do it. Um, Other than that, I mean, there wasn't a lot I didn't like about this show. Um, Nothing really surprised me though. We'll say that up front.
Yeah.
Then we had Io Sky versus Liv Morgan. It was a really great match. Probably about another 10 minutes, about the same as the Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre match. Um, Io went for the over the moonsault, and Liv, instead of putting her knees up, put her feet straight up. And the angle that Io landed at was perfect to the point where she basically landed jaw first on Liv's feet and then flipped backwards a couple more times into the other side of
I've
the
seen
ring. It
that
was
kind of thing
amazing.
before. It's very difficult to pull off. You have to be very athletic in order to
Hmm.
pull that off. And guess what? Io Sky is very athletic.
Yeah. So she got her feet up for that, and then delivered the Oblivion, scored the victory. As she's walking out, Rhea Ripley shows up and they do the same stare down that her and Io did on Smackdown over the women's title with Liv and Rhea. And I'm like I'm ready for the Liv thing to be over because I'm
Yeah.
ready for the Judgment Day thing to be over. And I think the only way for the Judgment Day thing to be over is for them to not have any titles.
Yeah.
Any titles. That means the women's ones too. Like any titles. Um, it was all right. Match was pretty good itself.
Yeah.
I didn't care for the angle afterwards because it really wasn't much. They just stared each other down. Where like Rhea Ripley wants to kill Liv basically. So how did she get within arm's reach of her and not?
Right.
Doesn't make
Seriously.
sense. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. Um, then we had the triple threat for the World Heavyweight Championship with Gunther, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest. Um, it was really good. It fell victim a lot to the one guy being out at all times thing, though. But individually, all the little sections were good. Um, I don't feel like this feud is where Gunther needs to be, and so I'm glad that Gunther picked up the W here. I think he needs to be doing something else. I'm not sure exactly what, but the Priest Balor thing, it's been going on forever. Like they planted the seeds of it in Judgment Day, and it lasted for so long until it finally, came to a head. And it still feels like they haven't gotten rid of each other. So please separate Finn Balor and Damian Priest from the World Heavyweight Championship and let them finish this shit out while we
Yeah.
go have another World Heavyweight Championship feud that's going to be good. Like with Drew McIntyre or somebody. I don't know. The match was really good. All the matches on this show are really good. It's just some of the implications going into or coming out of them that I'm just like, you know. In this case, it was going into them.
Yeah.
I didn't care for a triple threat in the first place. I knew Finn Balor wasn't going to win, unfortunately, and but I don't want him to because if he wins the title, that just reinforces Judgment Day. So I don't want him
Yeah.
to.
At least not
um,
until
yeah, not
the
until that's
Judgment
done.
Day is done. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had the Women's United States Championship match with Michin and Chelsea Green. This was a banger. This was probably the best match on the card.
Yeah.
A lot of
Good.
people might, I don't know, people might think differently than me, but I don't know. This was the best match on the card. They're both solid workers. Michin, showing off her skill. Chelsea showing off her ability to get her ass whooped for a long time and still, pull off some really good offense. They go up on the top rope, and Chelsea, it looked like Meacham was going for like a superplex. And Chelsea, like sunset, flipped over her into an unprettier off the top, and that's how she won. Like,
What?
man, yeah. Like, if you see anything from this show, go watch this match because it's the best one. But that finish was fucking wild, man. She just like flipped over her and took her straight down. And Chelsea Green is the very first women's United States champion.
Good for
And
her.
honestly, I'm super like entertained by her every time she's on screen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. She's
because
awesome.
she plays like this prissy, bitchy girl that I don't like, but then she's also willing to like take the dumpster dives and stuff like that to give us the comeuppance that we want her to get. Like
Yeah.
she entertains me, and so I'm super happy about this. Um, the only thing that I think they missed out on is that while she's celebrating, Piper came over and picked her up on her shoulder. And she was like celebrating and stuff. This would have been a perfect opportunity for Piper to drop her like they did to Orton
Yeah.
and be her first like feud for the US championship. Like this would have been a perfect time for that, and I think it's a missed opportunity. Especially because
Mm.
I feel like Piper works best when she's just a mean ass heel, and I think Chelsea's over enough that she could be the face in that feud. So,
I mean, it's the curse of the modern smart audience, right?
mhm.
Like it doesn't matter who the heel is if they entertain you enough eventually, regardless of what plans are, the crowd will turn them babyface. Like it's. I mean, for goodness sake, like it happened with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, do you think that he was originally slated to be a babyface going into his match with Bret Hart in Survivor Series?
Oh, hell no.
No. But that smart crowd at Madison Square Garden still gave him about a 50-50 reception, and it only grew from there,
No.
you know?
Um, so a couple of things about this, but because I really did like it and I really appreciated a lot of different things about this match. And first of all, let's go with Chelsea Green, okay,
Yeah.
who not only do I think she deserved this, just based on what I've seen of her, coming back, watching, catching up and then watching regularly for this podcast, but um, she paid like full tribute to her husband,
Yeah.
because her gear had her face all over it. She had white gear and it was just like copy pasted of her face all over her gear. And her tights were one leg, one full leg, one trunk
Oh,
half.
like ECW version of Zack Ryder.
Yeah, like she totally had the Zack Ryder tights on. So I was like into that. Oh, and she did a Rough Rider like in the middle of the match. And it was pretty. It was a good one too. She wasn't just like doing her husband's move and it looked like shit. No, she had a really good Rough Rider right in the middle of the match. Like it was okay. On top of that, Michael Cole with the super awesome Wrestling Brain recall. Because
Yeah.
I know we see him on Botchamania pretty frequently for making a recall and then it's not right. Like
Mhm.
saying that Humberto had never fought for a singles title in WWE before like 2 weeks ago when he has had like 17 singles title matches or something like that.
Mhm.
But in this case, he said, and was correct, Chelsea Green made her TNA wrestling debut in a loss to Michin. So
Oh,
full circle back, getting that win back
that's pretty
to
cool.
win the women. And here's another crazy thing. Chelsea Green's a heel, and we got "Let's Go Chelsea" chance.
See?
I
See?
mean,
If
I
somebody
can't root against Michin though. I like her so much,
I mean
but
if I was watching this match, I would have trouble rooting for one over the other,
mhm.
personally.
I
Chelsea Green,
did.
I've seen her work. She's hilarious. I love her. I love I think Michin has been just criminally overlooked by WWE
Hmm.
since her days in NXT. Like
Yeah,
I she's one of the best workers in the whole division, and only now is she really getting a little bit of shine. So like
yeah.
I feel like I wouldn't be able if I were in your shoes to really root against either one of them either. Honestly.
Yeah. I had a hard time rooting against either one of them. I wanted both of them to win. I thought the match was freaking great. It really was. Like, honestly, even after I talk about the next match, this is the match of the night right here. Match of the night, point of the night, all the little throwbacks, all the little details that went into this match to make it what it was, from Michael Cole to gear choices to everything. Just this. This is the epitome of what Saturday
I
Night's Main
love
Event is
those
supposed to be
Easter
about.
eggs. I
Yeah.
love those Easter eggs. It makes you feel good for investing
Yeah.
in a
Like
wrestler,
I
a
know what
performer,
that
a
is because
character.
I invested my time in this.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
you're rewarded for doing so. I don't think there are too many other mediums in which you get rewarded as often as you do in wrestling. Because even when WWE doesn't want to acknowledge it, the wrestlers will often in their matches do whatever they want,
Hmm.
to get that point across,
Yeah.
so it may not be, lampshaded by commentary, but it will be the wrestlers are like, okay, these are for the hardcore guys. These are for the sickos. You know?
Right. So, I didn't talk about this before because it was really short, like 3 minutes long and inconsequential to the entire show on SmackDown Friday night.
Okay.
But they had like a face to face with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, and Kevin Owens didn't come up to the ring. He answered like from his car, but you could see obviously that his car was in the back of the arena. Like there were exit signs
Yeah,
and people walking around with headsets on and
yeah.
stuff. Like you could see he was obvious. So Cody Rhodes went looking for him, and Kevin Owens came out to whoop his ass, and that's how the show ended. I say that only because Kevin Owens came out and was whooping Cody's ass wearing a Stardust shirt. I say
Little
that to
details.
say this. Kevin Owens' gear for Saturday night's main event was the old Dusty son of a plumber shirt, but he pasted his face over Dusty's. So it was Kevin Owens' face on the Dusty son of a plumber shirt. Kevin Owens is the best t-shirt
Oh,
troll in the fucking world.
so
Okay,
he's
period.
so good. I love
Um,
Kevin Owens.
Before I get into the match, also because it didn't really come up in the rest of the match, because there's stuff that happened after the show that we'll talk about in a little bit. But um, Cody came to the ring, and the special gift that Triple H had given him in the little Pulp Fiction type scene was, in fact, the Winged Eagle belt. And
Yeah,
yes, I did, in fact, mark the fuck out. However, I don't think it was the original Winged Eagle belt.
I don't think so either. I looked at
I think it was a bigger
pictures of it
version.
online. It looked a little bit bigger, and it definitely had the alternate logo on it.
Yeah. The reason I don't think it was the original, besides that, I think the original Winged Eagle belt was probably gifted to someone at some point.
I mean,
So
the
they
way
probably
they
don't even
always do
have
it,
it. But this is,
the first time you win a championship, you
yeah,
get to keep
that
that
belt.
belt, and then they
Yeah.
just make a new one
Hmm.
so that you can have it in your trophy case and blah blah blah. So like they have, I mean, there are many different
Oh, I'm
actual
sure
quote
Bret Hart has like
unquote.
six of them or something,
I don't
but
know if they give him repeats. I know that for the first time you win it, they give you the
yeah.
belt.
But yeah, it was totally it was the Winged Eagle. It wasn't the old Winged Eagle belt, but it was
Yeah, it was a little
enough
bit
of
bigger.
it. It was
It
enough
was
of
so
it that I was
good,
like, fuck yes. It
so
looked
good.
beautiful. I like
Mm.
it so much better than the big logo belt. And
Yes,
it may even come into play in the future beyond this point. I think the response to it was big enough that they might keep using it, but also we'll talk about this a little bit.
yeah. I mean, I
So
was
the Matt,
talking on Blue Sky about it, and like, it is dumb that they call it the winged eagle belt because all eagles have wings. It's dumb,
yeah.
but in my opinion, I don't think there's ever been a better world title belt in existence. I know
Well,
a lot of people love the big gold belt. I respect it. I don't agree,
mhm,
but like, that was the world title of my childhood. That was the one Brett wore. That was the one Sean wore. That
yeah,
was the one Savage wore. You know, like
yeah.
those that was my childhood world title belt. So for
Uh,
me to see that they brought it back, even if it's just for one night, that's
mhm.
dope. I love that. That's
Now,
fantastic.
just a small wrestling history. I think they call it the Winged Eagle belt because either the belt before or two belts before their WWE Championship belt had a eagle on it, but did not have protruding wings. So
Oh,
that's why they called it the Winged Eagle, I think.
I know the one after that was the Big Eagle
The
belt.
big eagle, yeah.
The Big Eagle, the Attitude
Um,
Era
I
WWE
call
kind of
that one
belt.
the globe, the globe because it was
Yeah.
just a big round
And that's
plate.
also a very good design for the
I like
record.
that one too.
It's not my
Yeah.
favorite, but it's also very good. I like the undisputed one too.
Hmm.
The original undisputed title belt looking that was a good look. I like that too.
Right.
And then ever since then, it's just been downhill.
So Kevin Owens attacked before the bell, and they kicked it off, and they got brutal real fast. Basically just kicked each other's ass. I mean, there wasn't a lot of technical wrestling to write home about in this. It was a lot of brawling, but we know what Kevin Owens is, and what he does, and
Yeah,
and he did what he does here. Um, I haven't made it any secret that I wanted Kevin Owens to win this match because I think the Cody title run has been good, but I think it's time for him to go back to chasing the title from a heel. So I
yeah,
wanted Kevin to win this match. Surprise, surprise, as always, other than the women's US championship having an owner now, there are no title changes on this show. So
yeah.
but Kevin Owens introduced at some point Kevin Owens like got Charles Robinson distracted and introduced a steel chair to the equation. While Charles Robinson was distracted, Cody Rhodes cross-rhodesed him onto that chair and then slid the chair out of the ring, and that's
Mm.
how he picks up the win. So this match was really great, but the finish was odd with Cody using a chair and then sliding it out like a heel, and I mean I get
I
that
mean,
Kevin brought
yeah,
it in and he uses what he's got, but I don't know. I just thought it was kind of odd
yeah.
for as
The
brutal as the rest of
unwritten
the match
rule,
was.
the unwritten rule of wrestling regarding this is that cheating to counteract cheating is fair game,
Yeah,
and in
it
fact
cancels
is
out, man.
moral. It is seen as moral, in fact, because
Yeah,
it's just as self-defense at that point.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I would understand. I probably my guess they did it that way in order to justify a rematch,
Mm.
but I know that there was a
I think we'll
post-match
probably
angle,
get a
right?
rematch. So
Yeah,
after the show goes off the air, because I'm all over social media, so I saw this. After the show goes off the air, Owens returns to the ring, delivers Cody a package pile driver, which leaves him laying, out
they
laying.
actually
Cody,
did it.
yeah, Cody sold it
Oh,
like Orton sold it. So Cody's out, and Kevin Owens walks away with the Winged Eagle belt.
well, I
So
mean, he's only supposed to have it for that night anyway. So
as of later tonight, as the show is posted, or tomorrow as we record this, Kevin Owens, Triple H said the Winged Eagle belt was a one-time only thing, but now Kevin Owens has possession of it and believes that he should be the world heavyweight champion. So we will see where we go, but I don't think Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes is over. I also want to see if they're because like Orton's been gone for 4 weeks now
yeah.
for this pile driver that Kevin Owens gave him. Cody got arguably a worse version of said pile driver. So let's see. Is he going to show up on Raw tomorrow? Logic would dictate no, that Kevin Owens will show up with his Winged Eagle belt that he does not actually own, but that Cody Rhodes will not show up. So we will see how they go. WWE could have booked themselves into a corner here a little bit. And I'm interested to see how they get out of this bit of a corner that they put themselves in because now they've delivered a stretcher move to the only two people that they have built in any way, shape, or form to be able to take out Kevin Owens. And they built Kevin Owens up as a pure brawling psychopath. So who
So
does
what you
not
do?
believe he is in the wrong at all.
So what you do is you give Cody a month off, and in that time you have Owens walk around and defend the belts that he stole against Orton, who's coming back. So that's your interim thing. Have him beat Orton through nefarious means or otherwise. I'd prefer it clean, but they'll probably go dirty because he's a heel. And then at the end of that match, have him. What they'll probably do is they'll have him threaten to pile drive Orton again, and then Cody will come out and make the save.
Watch that be
Just,
exactly how it goes down.
I
Um,
mean,
Not because they're
WWE
listening to us
is.
or anything.
I mean, it's not. It's not that. It's just that there's a certain way that WWE constructs their storylines. And to be fair, if I had started my wrestling fandom last year, probably wouldn't have made that same call. But I am almost 40 and have been watching wrestling for nearly all of that time. There ain't much I haven't seen. So it doesn't matter that I haven't watched WWE's product in a couple of years now. Fact of the matter is, I still know how they tell stories. It
Yeah.
hasn't changed that much, Triple H or no. So that would be what I would suspect would happen, and I'm okay with that because I mean, there's a reason you tell a story that way. It's because it makes sense and that it appeases an audience, and it continues to build on prior things that were set up in storyline, personal grudges. It sets up Kevin Owens to look more like a maniac and therefore a bigger monster when Cody topples him again. So, I mean, because let's be real here, Owens ain't winning the belt. It's not happening. Cody
Probably not.
here, Cody was never going to have any. title reign that was less than a year after coming off of being the guy who held at least a version of the belt for nearly four.
Yeah.
So like they can't have they can't make the same mistake with him that they did with Sami Zayn when he beat Gunther. Like they had
Hmm.
him have a 3 month title reign, they dropped it to the new guy. Really? Like
Yeah.
I understand the big deal about Braun Breaker, but like really. And
Yeah.
then that guy drops the belt a few weeks later to Jey Uso for 2 weeks and then wins it back. Like they've hot potato that crap so much. Like Gunther had a record breaking Intercontinental title reign, and now they peed all over the Intercontinental title's worth now.
Yeah.
They don't want to make the same mistake with the world belt. They just don't. They shouldn't. And so if he's going to lose that belt, your best options, your best opportunities to do that are WrestleMania and SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Offside chance in next year's Survivor Series. I would imagine that he'll probably lose it to like The Rock at WrestleMania or some stupid crap like that.
Mhm. Um, so yeah, I
Because
mean,
who's going to stop? Who's going to stop The Rock? He's the guy. He's the guy on the board. You're going to say no to him?
hopefully somebody will. But I mean, okay, so we're gonna get a botchamania moment out of this match because Rhodes gave Owens an RKO on the announce table and it didn't move.
I
He
am the
bounced
table.
right off it. Oh my God, dude, it was so nasty. I was like, oh God, it didn't break. Uh,
Must be one of
but
them Japanese tables.
yeah, so we're gonna get an I am the table moment for sure off that. Other than that, though, Saturday night's main event was really good. Like I said, I really liked the triple threat match, but that was what I liked the least about the show, and it's
Yeah.
just because I am just really worn out on Priest and Balor and that whole thing, man, and the Judgment Day.
Isn't it
You know,
so sad when you can look at a feud that has two really, really talented guys that you like individually, and the creative just is not there to sustain your interest with
no,
them?
yeah,
Isn't
it's
that
just
just
not
this
either.
super disappointing?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Like it's messed up because like I like a lot of the parts of the Judgment Day individually. I've said that like many times, but I
Yeah.
just this whole thing, man, it's wearing me out. Like, can
It's
we
kind of weird to
please move
think
on
that
to
it
something
began
else?
as a gothic thing with like a new brood
Edge.
with Edge.
Yeah,
Like
it
it's
is.
grown into something much, much different than that.
Oh, how they grew and then oh, how they fell.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, Saturday night's main event was good. Yeah, all the AEW stuff was good this week. All the WWE regular weekly programs were good this week. We again remain really well fed wrestling fans.
Yeah. We have
Um,
grievances, but they are small, really.
yeah,
That's
really
small potato
small.
stuff.
So
It really is in the grand
yeah,
scheme of things.
yeah. So I mean, with that, that only leaves one thing, and that's for us to call it in the ring like the pros do.
All right, so this week, the Call in the Ring segment. This is our very last episode for this season for the year. Again, we're going to take the next 2 weeks off to celebrate the holidays with our families, and then come back first week of next year, 2025, with brand new content. Hopefully, with some brand new tech too. That'd be nice. Hopefully, this is this this is me willing it into the universe, so I don't have to spend my own money. Uh, but that being said, we thought it would be fitting to do some predictions. I know it's kind of cliche, but you know, there's room for cliche. Things are cliche because they work. That's,
It's true.
I mean, that works. So uh, each of us is going to come up with three predictions for 2025. Something that'll happen in the next 365 days, starting with January 1st. So that out of the way, Aaron, what do you think is something that's going to happen in the world of wrestling? It doesn't have to be in WWE, doesn't have to be in AEW, doesn't have to be anywhere but in the general sphere of professional wrestling.
Well, there's a lot of easy ones. Um, there's a lot of like was it's like, oh well, this might happen, but that's pretty likely. Let's go with this. Okay. In 2025, during his farewell tour, John Cena's career will come full circle and he will be the WWE United States champion at least one more time.
The United States champion.
Yes, and it
So
might
you
even be with
decided.
a spinner belt.
So you think that he's, instead of winning the 17th world title, and instead of completing the Grand Slam by winning the Intercontinental title, which he's never won, you think
Yes.
he's gonna go one more time for the U.S. title? That is an interesting prediction.
Yeah, I think so. And the reason I say that is simply because The Rock is involved in WWE and going into WrestleMania, and I don't think that John Cena is going to feature in the world title picture in a way like The Rock will. As much as I want to see him have that 17th title reign and break that record so that we can stop listening to people talk about 16-time world champion Ric Flair, and maybe move on to 17-time world champion John Cena. As much as I would like him to, finish his Grand Slam, I don't see a way they work that out from it being around or it being around Braun Breaker's waist and then going to Cena's. Nakamura having the U.S. title is an easier, like, get that off him onto somebody else, and then maybe that person faces Cena. Like maybe back to L.A. Knight. I would love to see John Cena and L.A. Knight go at it. Although it would be a bit of a face versus face dynamic, I'd still like to see it. Um, I'm not sure how it happens. I just feel like with maybe the nostalgia factors at play right now, but I think maybe John Cena wins another U.S. title before he hangs it up.
I mean, it would be appropriate for him. I think people really started turning around on their opinions of John Cena when he went back down and started doing the open challenge stuff too.
Mm,
I think that that was kind of the. I mean, he tried to. He had more of a mid card match style, which was more work rate oriented. He tried putting new stuff in his repertoire. He was having great matches with people who would never have sniffed the main event if he had the title. And I
mm,
think that really won a lot of people over that had been virulently anti Cena for well on a decade.
mm,
So there is a sense of poetry there if he winds up back with that belt around his waist one more time. So there, I'm neurotic. Like if it was me, I would be like, well, you either do the world title thing, and I would lean towards that simply, like you said, to get Ric Flair out of the conversation. Even though technically speaking, it's not 16 and it's closer to like 22. But
it's
like
like
that's, I mean,
25,
there are lots
but
of phantom title changes in Mexico and Japan to consider.
mhm,
But or not Mexico, Puerto Rico rather. Sorry. There were riots that were averted because you dropped the belts. That was not planned. Uh, not initially anyway. You know, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely worth there from a storytelling, thematic, and a symmetrical point of view.
mhm, yeah,
You know, I kind of dig that. I kind of dig that. The good thing is that you've got options.
mhm.
I mean, the fact that we're even bringing up all three of those possible championships is proof enough that you've got options with them. So,
Well,
I mean,
here's what I think would be super funny. Okay, and here's how I would book it. All right.
okay,
Shinsuke Nakamura loses that. I think he should have it for a while. I would like the title to be built a little bit more seriously, even though we're going to end this in a comedy thing, kind of. I would like Shinsuke to have it, but I would also like him to lose it. Like, okay, I would like Shinsuke to have it, and while he has it, at some point, I would like John Cena to return to a Raw. I'm sure he's going to be on the first Raw of the year, so we could start it right here.
yeah.
But I want Shinsuke to have the title, and then I want John Cena to interact at Raw with Austin Theory.
Again, we've been down this road.
I know we have, and here's why. This is that full circle thing I keep talking about. We're bringing it back like a good comedian. Uh, So I want him to interact with Austin Theory and Austin Theory to be a douchebag to him. And I want that to continue basically until they say, all right, you know what? You've been a dick. I beat your ass in like 17 seconds at WrestleMania before. I'm going to do it again. My very
Well,
last
he lost to
WrestleMania.
Theory
Okay. Yeah, he did. Okay. So, okay.
in a very boring match
Yeah.
from all
So,
accounts.
okay. You're responsible for my worst WrestleMania match ever. I want to get that back. So we're gonna have a match at WrestleMania. But then somewhere on the point, I want like Austin Theory to get a fluke win over Shinsuke and get the U.S. title. And then I mean, let's make it the Friday night before the first night of WrestleMania. That way, Austin Theory can be like, "I'm the new U.S. champion," then immediately lose it to John Cena.
So how do you take care of Shin? Because he doesn't deserve to be let off the
Make him take
WrestleMania
that.
for this.
Give him. He gets that L, and
Oh, you know what?
Shinsuke's his
Oh,
way into the IC title match.
no, 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 no. Perfect, perfect way. WrestleMania is 2 nights now.
Mm-hmm.
Have him win it, and have him on the next night open the show with a U.S. title open challenge,
And lose
and
to
in comes
Shinsuke.
Shinsuke. Oh, I mean, he doesn't have to lose it to him, but give him,
A
put him
rematch or
on the
something.
card.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve to not be on the card.
Mm-hmm.
He was U.S. champion up until that Friday. So
Yeah. But something like
yeah, and
that, where
then
like Austin Theory gets
yeah,
it back and maybe immediately loses it to John. Maybe even that same, like maybe even a same day thing. Like Austin Theory's been being a dickbag to Shinsuke, and he gets one over on him, and then Adam Pearce or
Nick Aldis.
Nick Aldis is like, no, no, that's some bullshit. You know what? You want to pull this shit on my WrestleMania? No, no, no. You're gonna face this guy, and then you know, and then he immediately loses like 15-second squash match. You can't see me. There we go. And that's what you get for beating me at WrestleMania ever. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like that
No,
just
I
I
dig
mean
that. I dig
something
that.
something like that. So yeah, there's my first prediction. John Cena will win. I My prediction is actually he will win a title in 2025, but but like if I want to hone it in, he will probably win the US title at one point in 2025.
All right. Well, my first prediction is going to be that there will finally be, after most of this year, teasing the possibility but never delivering on it, there will be a woman on the AEW roster that will have won in their career there the Women's World Championship and the TBS Championship. And that woman is going to be Willow Nightingale.
God, I hope so. Man, I hope
She,
so.
I, I don't care if it waits all the way till World's End. It's gonna happen. It needs to happen. The woman is so over. Everybody loves Willow. Not a single person that I've ever seen has anything ever bad to say about her, about how she works, about her character, about anything, anything. She's the one. I mean, if I were booking, I would book her to go full circle and be the one to dethrone Mercedes at probably Double or Nothing for the TBS title one more time, and then at some point drop the belts and then win the world title. Probably, for being honest, probably off a still babyface Tony Storm. If I had to
Okay.
guess, and if I were after booking, I think that's probably. I mean, the best way that you can give her a rub is to do it that way.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, they've teased a bunch. They've teased it with Sheeta. They've teased it with Statlander. They've teased it with a couple of other women. Where Britt, uh,
Hmm.
that okay, somebody's going to be the first woman to win both, to have won both belts. Who's it
Yeah.
going to be? And I think it's not from going to the top of the card to the lesser title. I think it goes the other way around, like it should. And I think it's Will Nightingale who manages to finally pull it off.
Oh
She
yeah.
redeems her. I don't want to say redeems herself because it wasn't her fault, but redeems herself for having such a short TBS title reign to begin with by getting it again and having a good 4 or 5 month reign before dropping it to maybe Julia Hart, and
Hmm.
then um, or maybe Jamie Hayter, and then oh no, it wouldn't be Jamie Hayter, couldn't be Jamie Hayter, uh, but not for this scenario. But then win it from Tony Storm, or she could win it from Hayter. Actually, she could win the world title from Hayter.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been kind of trying to figure ways around giving Hayter something to do without putting her in the world title scene, which is why they're giving her Julia Hart.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's Willow, and I think it deserves to be Willow.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too, actually, and I think it should be. I
I
stand
want the
Willow hard,
world for
so
that woman.
she can win everything for all. She can go around being Willow two belts for all I give a shit. Let's
Yeah,
go. You know.
yeah,
So yeah, Willow. Yeah, I think she deserves it. I think that's a pretty solid call because I think that's gonna happen at some
yeah.
point. Um, man, I kind of want to go Wilder.
Okay, go
Okay.
Wilder.
All right, I will. I will. I think because I think it's possible in AEW. Yeah, I see that eyebrow go up. I think this is actually possible in AEW, so I want to see it happen.
Okay, okay.
Um, I would like Private Party to lose the tag team championships to Camille and Chris Statlander.
Ooh, that is interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
They've built both of these women up to be super
oh,
strong, strong enough to fight a man.
yeah.
And I would like to see them win them. I'd like to see at least one of these super talented women win a men's title. I don't think it's out of the question for it to happen. I think Tony Khan is apt to do something even wilder than WWE, letting China win the win the Intercontinental Championship. Um, I think that it's possible. I don't understand what they're gonna do with Camille now. I guess she's written off TV for the time being with the maybe it's a legit shoulder injury, which I've heard it is. So I don't know, but I believe that the two of them are strong enough and have been built to be hard enough hitters that I I don't I don't think I would bat an eye if they beat Private Party. But
Especially since they could probably use the situation to their advantage, being
yeah,
women and not being taken seriously
yeah,
because of the situation, and or Private Party not really being into the idea of having to be there in there with women because they
they
don't
don't
want
want
to
to
be
hit a
seen as
woman.
women beaters or whatever.
Yeah.
I could see it going a couple different ways from that.
Like I'm not gonna hit
I
a woman and then Camille just slaps the shit out of him, like,
yeah.
like you kind of
I
got it,
mean, you got to
dog.
remember this company was founded by people who cut their teeth in PWG. Candice LeRae on a couple of occasions came very, very close to being PWG World Champion,
Hmm.
including what was the who was it? It was against was it Steen? Cole
Maybe.
maybe? There was one match she had where she was just a bloody freaking mess over it too, and I can't remember who her opponent was, but she was within a hair's breadth of winning that belt. So
Hmm.
there is precedent for the attitude that would allow for something like that to happen within the inner workings of AEW Creative.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say that is a wild prediction. I don't necessarily see it happening, but if it did happen, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised that AEW would be the one doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
they're still kind of trying to get out of their funk from 2023, trying to kind of plug some leaks, trying to
Hmm.
win some people back. I mean, you could write it off as a publicity stunt if you wanted, but it would definitely be a way to get eyes on your product. Be like,
You could
what?
get eyes
Really?
on the product and then keep them there by making them a serious
Yeah,
defender of the title. Like, I mean, we could, there are, I could name 5 or 6 teams off the top of my head that are part of the AEW tag division that mostly on the merit of the way they've been booked could easily
yeah,
fall to those two
yeah,
and make them legitimate defenders of the titles. And then maybe, I don't know how it comes off them.
yeah. I
Um,
don't know either.
but you know what? I do know how it comes off them actually. This is how we return to which God, I hate myself for saying this. But this is how we return to the Young Bucks having the tag team titles. Because they're
Oh
the only
yeah, you know
people,
what?
they're petty
Yeah,
enough but small
yeah.
enough, and people wouldn't be real surprised if they started beating up a couple of women. I mean,
No,
it's just
you're right. You're right. No,
there
it
it
would
is,
fit their
man.
heel characters so well too. Like it
Yeah, it
really
would fit
would.
their yeah, everything.
Oh
So there you
no,
go.
I mean more so than any other heel tag team even I can think of. I
Hmm.
mean, the exception maybe, although this is it's more likely that they would get fed to the ladies, but MXM Collection could probably pull it off too
Yeah, yeah. They're one of
because
the
of
teams
the
that I
way
was
their
going to mention
gimmick
would get
works.
fed to them, and but that's
Yeah,
only because of that. Like I said, the merit of the way they've been booked.
merit of the way they've been booked and their gimmick
Yeah.
and their so I mean, my, Mason Madden's a big dude. He
Hmm.
really is, but he's they're booked as a silly tag team that I
Hmm.
love that is leans heavily on pushing the buttons of people who still lean into toxic masculine stereotypes.
Hmm.
So,
Oh, no, no, no.
uh,
It gets better. It gets even better because we could totally have them beat the Outrunners. And then
ooh,
suddenly the Outrunners get a spin off into their story of do we even really have the stuff, bro?
yeah,
Because they are, I mean, they're not
yeah,
toxic guys, but that is
no,
obviously 80s style toxic masculinity. So
yeah,
they get beat by women. And
yeah,
then now we suddenly have an Outrunners who are prepped for a deeper story than what they're
yeah.
giving us. And
As
so
long as the
maybe we can
follow up is there,
expand.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it just there's so many ways you could go with this, but it would definitely put eyes on the product. And then by making them a legitimate tag team who beats people who are coming after their titles, keeps eyes on the product, gives a lot of people what they want in that we want more women on the show. Tony Khan doesn't seem to understand a way to get more women on the show in a fashion that makes it, taken seriously.
yeah,
So fuck it, give some of the women who are amazing talents and in some cases are more talented than some of the men on the roster, give them a men's championship. Do not pull a WWE and give us women's tag team titles. Make the tag team titles open to all divisions.
I think the more we talk about it, the more I like the idea. What I think is probably more likely to happen is that, and this isn't a prediction, this is just dovetailing off of your idea. I think what's probably more likely is they split the difference and they have a woman be a part of a trio and win the trios belts. I think that's more likely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that said, why not both? Why not see how the audience reacts to the trio situation first? And if they react positively, pull the trigger on Stat and Camille. Find a way to put them together. Maybe their mutual hatred of Mercedes Monet. I don't know,
Perfect. That's
but
enough.
like, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't because
Mm-hmm.
if they're bonded by their mutual hatred of her, then they need to be going after her. So why are they not? So
Maybe
maybe
she's
they're in it.
avoiding them. You
Maybe
know,
okay. How about we book this? Camille wants a shot. Statlander still wants a shot. Triple threat match for the TBS title with the stipulation that if neither one of them can beat Monet, they can't challenge for the TBS title as long as Monet holds it.
okay.
And then it spins off into this.
Mm. They lose, but they still want a title. How
Yeah,
do they
they
get
lose,
one?
but they still want gold, and they still want to prove that they're on that level.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
All right. I like it. I dig it. I'm going to make. Okay. I think that by the end of the year 2025, Ring of Honor will cease to be.
Oh God, that hurts.
It hurts me too. And the funny thing is that all signs point to them finding some kind of deal within the next couple of weeks to be on some channel
Hmm.
somewhere. But like it's not going to be one of the big channels. I mean, that's the only reason they put the Ring of Honor title back on Jericho is because anytime they need to do this, anytime they think they're close to signing some kind of big deal, they go back to the well with what put them on TV in the first place. And it worked.
Hmm.
It worked. When they bought Ring of Honor, they put the title on him because they had some offers that they were looking at, and it didn't work out then. They're trying that again now because of the people who would be willing to go in there. He does have the most name value. He does. Like
Yeah.
so they must feel like they're close to a deal. But having gone through this with TNA so many times, the whatever channel they wind up with is going to be some piddly no name channel that nobody gets. That's going to be in a slot that nobody's going to watch it in,
Yeah.
and they're
3 a.m.
going
on
to
Sinclair was hard, man.
yeah, it's going to be It's going to be ECW on TNN is what it's going to be,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and it's not it's not going to work out. And by year's end, they're going to be hemorrhaging so much that the sunk cost fallacy will finally be bypassed, and they're just going to dissolve it.
Hmm.
Um, the only upside of that is that Athena finally gets back on the AEW main roster.
Hopefully,
But yeah,
he should have
um,
been back on there. Honestly.
long time ago. You
Hmm.
kidding me? But yeah, I hate to doom and gloom it, but and it is kind of a bold prediction, but I think that the without without getting on like a real television station and honestly improving the ROH product by a lot and giving it its own distinct identity away from AEW instead of just being AEW light, I
Hmm.
don't foresee it lasting too much longer because they're already going making. I mean, granted, they're going to be profitable. AEW will be profitable for the next 4 to 5 years because of the deal that they signed, but
Hmm.
they're already suffering from image problems, fabricated or no. They're
Hmm.
already changing the arenas that they go to compensate. They had to pivot in Australia for the Grand Slam show because ticket sales weren't there.
Hmm.
And Ring of Honor is no AEW. I think by year's end they're going to have to call it, and they're just it's going to be like a doctor pulling the plug at that point, like because there's just no resuscitating it. And I hate that because I'm not gonna lie and say like I followed Ring of Honor religiously or anything. I did. I went in and out as I had availability to the product.
Hmm.
Um, but I followed not closely, but I followed it enough to know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like it's gonna be sad when it happens because that was it emerged from the ashes of WCW to carve a new way for people to thrive on the indie scene in the
Hmm.
face of a mostly monopoly when WWF won the Monday Night War. So to see it fall the way of the dodo after so many times where we thought TNA was dead and buried when it came out around the same time, the idea that ROH would die first is not a thought I relish, but I think
Hmm.
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
it's going to happen this coming year.
Best case scenario in my head, they have bundled it with the Max deal and just haven't
Oh,
told us
here's
yet.
hoping. I just haven't heard
Um,
any scuttlebutt to suggest one or the other.
yeah. Now, in my mind, if I was Tony, since he owns the place,
Hmm.
in my mind, I would make it a full-on NXT for AEW. I would
Yeah.
take that Rampage slot, whatever the Rampage slot is that they're getting, that they're gonna, into whatever they're turning it
Turn to
into, because
Shockwave or
Rampage is
whatever.
Shockwave or whatever. That would be ROH. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, give that hour to ROH. You started doing big stuff on Rampage at the end of the year. Rampage is gonna be dead in 2 weeks. Half the stuff you're doing on Rampage is inconsequential because the show, we know the show is going to be gone. Um, let,
Well, the one had nothing but Continental Classic matches.
yeah, I mean we understand that,
That's
but
of consequence.
like let's just let's give that hour to ROH. Do you want it
Yeah,
to work? Do the
it
same
is
thing
proof.
NXT does. Give them an hour a week, man.
To your point, it is proof that if they wanted to, they could focus energy effectively into that time slot.
They could, they could. So I mean, best case scenario, they're bundled in with the Max. I would kill to be able to get Dynamite and Collision and ROH on Max because I already subscribed to Max. So like
Yeah.
I'm still not really keen on the additional fee required for the pay-per-views because
Mm.
I'm already paying, like, I mean, I paid WWE $10 a month. Why can't AEW do the same thing? I don't understand the cost
Yeah, depending on
analysis of
how much
that.
it is, I may still use Triller
Yeah, I may
and
still, yeah,
a
I may still use
VPN.
another service for that, like YouTube or something. But I already subscribed to Max, so I'm gonna get, I'm gonna be able to watch that shit live and just
Yeah,
and be able to actually watch it live and not have to go back and watch Triller later or BR later or whatever.
yeah,
Um, but also, I mean, it's unless Triller has a way better price on the pay-per-view, it's gonna allow me to cut like two subscriptions out. But also, I mean, just put ROH on there. I mean, there is no way you don't have the negotiating power to be like, hey, we're going to give you a library of 30 or 40,000 hours of wrestling that people love,
mhm,
and we're going to give you an extra hour of a week. Do it on, you know what? Don't even charge them anymore. Just be like, hey, along with this awesome deal you did with us for AEW, we're going to give you a whole nother promotion with an
yeah,
extra hour of TV every week and 30 or 40,000 hours of well loved, well watched, backstory stuff that people will literally subscribe to your service just to have it. If Honor Club got folded into Max, I'd be watching the shit out of Honor Club.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
It's simple.
I would love for that too. Since I already have access to Max, I would like. It's like, huh.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if people watching Dynamite on Max were being informed about the backstory of one of their storylines, which some people complain about. I don't know why people complain about there being backstory, but like,
But there it is.
I mean, maybe because they didn't see it or whatever, but that they could pause that program in progress, go elsewhere on Max to find exactly what match they were referring to, watch that match, get the context, and then go back to watching Dynamite and say, okay, I understand this better now.
You could make nerd
Instead of,
wrestling heaven that way, dude. Just
yeah,
oh, but yeah. I mean,
it'd be
it
great.
sucks that I would that ROH might come to an end, but I mean I see it happening. Maybe. I mean, it's
Yeah.
possible.
All right. Third one.
Yeah, third one.
Go.
Okay. You know what? I want to go Wilder, but at the same time, I think this one because I think one, I think it's actually going to happen, and
Mm,
two, I think the news lines and the wrestling world, the IWC is going to break for a few days as a result, and people are just going to be shooting out the wildest takes they got. I believe that the TNA WWE deal is going to crash in flames this year because it is, by all accounts and by everything I've seen, and I am not the only person that has said this, it's a one-sided deal in WWE's favor, and TNA can only go so long being slow played into a territory buyout, basically. Because what's happening is WWE is bringing their main talents like Hendry and Jordan Grace over to WWE TV. They're not really sending anybody of equal stature back to TNA to be on their programming. And now, when contracts are running out, like Jordan Grace's, they're not re-signing because they're going to go over to WWE, which basically makes this a Vince territory style buyout. They're just slow burning it and making it pretty for everybody.
Yeah.
So what do I think is going to happen? I think eventually, at some point during 2025, TNA is going to fully realize that this is happening. I expect a shareholder or someone on the earnings call or something like that to be like, "Hey, what the fuck?" Or somebody's going to bring it to their attention. It's going to get investigated. They're going to realize that this is a one-sided deal, and it's not going to end well. It's going to be VKM type shit on TNA TV because that's what they do, and WWE's never going to mention them again.
Yeah.
When Joe
No.
Hendry and Jordan Grace do finally become part of the WWE roster, they'll never mention where they came from.
No. No. Yeah, I could see that definitely
It
happening.
could spell the death of TNA if they break contract with WWE and do it in such a way that it's negligible or whatever. But um, I wholly see this coming to a flaming fucking end.
Yeah, they'll get their Royal Rumble pop. They'll sign the couple of guys, and then they'll probably be like, okay, yeah, we got no more use for you because that's what WWE does historically. Like that's just what they've done.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can't imagine like the the position that puts people in TNA, wrestlers in TNA, because you've got people like Jordan Grace and Joe Henry who are benefiting from this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and there is more exposure in WWE, and there is more money to be made in WWE. But at the same time, those people do have pretty good reputations as decent people for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reconcile that with what's clearly going on? Like, if I was in their shoes, I would be like, okay, I don't know if I really like how this is going down. Like, I don't know if I feel comfortable contributing to this thing simply because I want my career to be, you know, in a better spot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are people around me who are affected by this. That's just me. Okay, I'm not casting aspersions or judgments. I'm just saying it must be very difficult to make those personal decisions that only those people themselves can make for themselves and their families. So, but still, yeah, I mean, I agree the situation sucks
Yeah.
for TNA. But
Yeah, it
if I
shouldn't for TNA.
if there's one thing I know about TNA is that it's that cockroach that will not die. I don't think they'll
God,
die as a result of it.
they just
Like
won't.
nothing can kill TNA.
No.
We've thought it was death warmed over at least half a dozen times now from various
Yeah.
things.
In what, 20 years now or something like that?
Jeez Louise. Like I
Oh,
can't. It won't be fine, but it'll survive
yeah.
at least into 2026.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick for my last prediction, I believe that Vince McMahon will not live to see the end of the Janelle Grant trial. I
Ooh.
think that the workout freak that he is, that it's amazing that he's lived to be as long as it is because he's overworked his heart.
Mm-hmm.
Between all the stress he has put it on himself, both physically, with not sleeping, going all over the country, this that into an advanced age. I feel, and just because the way the world seems to work now, we will not see justice. We will see in the middle of the trial sometime this year, I believe Vince McMahon, maybe even spitefully, on purpose, his body will be like, you know what? I would rather die than give this woman the justice that she deserves. And I think he's going to pass. And Janelle Grant will never know satisfaction, because I hate to end on a downer, guys, but like I see the way the world works. I see the patterns. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't justice happens so rarely, and I see it foresee it happening this year because it would just be too perfect if he actually lived to see justice. And that trial will take place this year,
Yeah.
or this coming year rather.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean they restarted it, now that the federal stay has passed, so that
Mm-hmm.
they could investigate him for the FBI. I don't think either one of those cases is going to see the justice they deserve. I think this man is going to die, and that he is going to escape proper charges and justice for his actions, and it will be a sad day for the wrestling industry, not because the man has died, but because he never ever was held to account for his awful, despicable actions.
Yeah. It sucks that if that happens, I'm really hoping he lives to see justice. Maybe dies his first day in prison or something. Which I don't. Maybe he won't go to prison because of his advanced age. But I mean, I
I
hope he
mean,
gets
it'll definitely
justice.
be a white
But
collar prison.
I definitely, I definitely see him dying soon. Just because, I mean, what does he have to live for anymore? To be
Hmm.
perfectly honest, I mean,
He lived
a
for the
man
work, and
that
now he can't
driven with
work.
nothing to drive him,
Yeah,
he'll die.
yeah.
I mean, I know what I would be like if I like,
He
because I
was
mean, I
going
want,
on momentum,
yeah, I want to
basically.
retire, but I'm not ready for it yet. If I
Yeah,
had to retire right now, yeah, I might not be long for this world because I have no purpose.
yeah,
So honestly though, I feel nothing bad for the man. So if he does die, the only person I'll feel bad for is Janelle Grant.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, I don't
yeah.
know,
I hope I'm wrong. For the
I hope
record,
you're
I hope
wrong as
I'm
far as the
wrong.
justice is concerned, but as far as him dying, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
upset.
yeah. No, I want
Uh,
justice. I'm
but
very
yeah,
into fairness.
yeah,
Very into fairness.
heck yeah.
But
But yeah, that was it for the week for us for guys. We appreciate you being with us. Thank you for joining us for season one. We will be back on January 6th, the very first day of Raw on Netflix, and the very first Monday of the new year, with our season two debut. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting us. Hit us up on the socials. In the meantime, we will be there intermittently online answering questions and having lots of fun with you guys on Blue Sky. And just remember, we love you. You have value, and we will see you next season.
happy holidays, guys. Love you. Thank you so much.